Chapter 301. Pre-War Preparations 3. No problem. I'll wait for Chief Xian to return at the Sparrow Tribe. Jiang Xuan and Shan Jia stood up, declined the Sparrow Tribe leader's invitation to eat, left the Sparrow Tribe, and continued on to the next tribe with Tang Yuan. In the sky, Jiang Xuan looked back at the Sparrow Tribe and shook his head helplessly. It was Shan Jia's second time flying in the sky. Although still scared, he was a bit better than before. Seeing Jiang Xuan shake his head, he asked, "Chief Xian, what's wrong?" "We thought about uniting the various tribes to attack too optimistically. These tribes don't know much about the Vine Tribe and have little trust. Even if we barely unite them, problems will arise during the attack." "What kind of problems?" Shan Jia frowned, although he had already thought of some things in his heart. "Simply put, when our attack goes smoothly, they'll all rush in. But once the attack is hindered, they might hesitate and even turn and run." Jiang Xian's words made Shan Jia silent, because he knew that everything Jiang Xuan said was true. "So, Chief Xian, do you think we still need to visit a few other small tribes?" "Yes. Even though they're not very reliable, it's still beneficial to win them over. If we don't try, our chances of winning are even smaller." Jiang Xuan shook his head again, looking ahead without speaking further. Sitting behind Jiang Xuan, Shan Jia felt extremely uneasy. He was very afraid that Jiang Xuan would back down. If that happened, the Mountain Turtle Tribe would really have no choice but to either migrate or face extinction. On Tang Yuan's back, both of them were deep in thought, listening to the whistling wind and watching the scenery below swiftly pass by. Before long, they arrived at the second tribe, the Unicorn Tribe. As soon as Jiang Xuan and his group landed, they saw a large number of beetles the size of water buckets swiftly fleeing into the forest, with some spreading their wings and taking flight. Soon, a large group of warriors from the Unicorn Tribe rushed out and surrounded them. The Unicorn Tribe was also familiar with the Mountain Turtle Tribe. After Shan Jia explained, he led Jiang Xuan into the Unicorn Tribe. Upon learning that they intended to attack the Fierce Bird Tribe, the leaders and the witch of the Unicorn Tribe immediately expressed their support. "We've had enough of the Fierce Bird Tribe, but we can't beat them. Don't worry, our Unicorn Tribe will definitely join you in the attack when the time comes," the leader of the Unicorn Tribe promised, pounding his chest, without even mentioning a visit to the Vine Tribe. "However, let me be clear up front. If we really can't win by then, we'll retreat and relocate elsewhere." Although the words were harsh, the Unicorn Tribe's attitude was clear: fight if possible, flee if not. Shan Jia was somewhat dissatisfied, but had no choice. After all, he couldn't expect the Unicorn Tribe to fight to the death with them. Jiang Xuan appreciated the Unicorn Tribe's attitude, as it was better to know their intentions up front rather than having them suddenly flee mid-battle. At least they would be mentally prepared. After agreeing on an attack date with the Unicorn Tribe, they hurried to the next tribe. The third tribe was the Butterfly Tribe. However, when they arrived at the Butterfly Tribe, they found that the Butterfly Tribe was already packing up, preparing to migrate. After Shan Jia explained their purpose to the Butterfly Tribe's leader, he was directly refused. "Our Butterfly Tribe is migrating tomorrow. You should find other tribes to attack with." With one sentence from the Butterfly Tribe's leader, Shan Jia was immediately stonewalled. Shan Jia wanted to persuade, but Jiang Xuan stopped him, saying, "Everyone has their own aspirations. Let's go." Shan Jia, unable to persuade, had to leave the Butterfly Tribe with Jiang Xuan, continuing to fly to the fourth tribe. When they flew to the fourth tribe, they discovered that the tribe had recently been annihilated by the Fierce Bird Tribe. Standing outside the ruins, Jiang Xuan asked Shan Jia, "Are there any other tribes we can ally with?" "None." Shan Jia was very dejected. "Then let's head back." Jiang Xuan wasn't particularly disappointed, as he had anticipated from the start that these small tribes wouldn't all join the fight. They climbed back onto Tang Yuan, first flew to the Sparrow Tribe, picked up the Sparrow Tribe's leader, and then flew directly back to the Vine Tribe. Chapter 302. Accident. What a powerful tribe! Within the Vine Tribe, you looked at the tall stone mountain, the stretching vine walls, and the Vine Tribe members working hard in the fields, feeling a great impact internally. Everything about the Vine tribe was novel to him, including the neatly arranged croplands, various peculiar tools, tall houses, wooden boats, and bamboo rafts. During his time with the Sparrow tribe, he thought the Mountain Turtle tribe was quite powerful. However, after arriving at the Vine tribe, he realized the Mountain Turtle tribe was nothing in comparison. Most people from other tribes were sallow and emaciated, wearing ragged beast hide, clothing, or even grass skirts. In contrast, nearly everyone in the Vine tribe looked strong, with clothes that had few tears and appeared relatively new. This was what amazed you the most, as it indicated that the Vine tribe was very wealthy, able to ensure that their members were well-fed and clothed every day. Even the Fierce Bird tribe couldn't achieve this. Chief Yi, what do you think of our Vine tribe? Is it worthy of fighting alongside? Jiang Xuan took Yi, the Sparrow tribe chief, around for a tour and then asked him. He gave a thumbs up and said, "The Vine tribe is indeed powerful. Rest assured, Chief Xian, the Sparrow tribe will definitely join you in attacking the Fierce Bird tribe." Jiang Xuan and Shan Jia exchanged a glance, both secretly heaving a sigh of relief at having won over the Sparrow tribe. "Chief Yi, you must be hungry after such a long walk, right? Let's go over to my place for some food first." Yi admitted shyly, "I am indeed a bit hungry. Let's go. The food is all ready to serve." Jiang Xuan led Yi and Shan Jia back to his courtyard, where warriors had already prepared the meals. The three ate and chatted together, setting the date for advancing on the Fierce Bird tribe to 10 days later. The reason it required so many days was due to the considerable distance between the three tribes, taking 10 days to gather near the Fierce Bird tribe. After eating their fill, Jiang Xuan mounted Tang Yuan and sent Shan Jia and Yi back to their respective tribes. Jiang Xuan then made a trip to the Unicorn tribe, informing them of the battle date and advising them to prepare in advance. Following that, Jiang Xuan returned to the Vine tribe and began rallying personnel for the campaign. The journey from the Vine tribe to the Fierce Bird tribe was roughly 8 days, but the Vine tribe's warriors all had mounts, enabling them to travel much faster than on foot. A day later, Jiang Xuan assembled over 1,500 warriors, approximately half of whom were promising captives. Jiang Xuan dispersed them across various teams, having the Vine tribe warriors oversee them. He promised them that if they performed well in this battle, they could officially join the Vine tribe and become members. As for the remaining captives, most were ordinary people with little combat prowess. Jiang Xuan left 30 warriors to guard them, and anyone attempting to create trouble would be killed directly. Jiang Xuan also sent people to notify the Frog tribe. Being a subsidiary tribe of the Vine tribe, they were required to dispatch at least half their warriors to assist the Vine tribe in combat, which was one of the costs of being a subsidiary tribe. The Frog tribe was quite reluctant because their population had already dwindled to fewer than 200, and it would take much time to recuperate. However, Huameng understood clearly that they must join the battle. Otherwise, they would lose the Vine tribe's trust. Ultimately, the Frog tribe sent 80 warriors to follow the Vine tribe's army into battle. On the night of June 18th, Jiang Xuan summoned everyone with a rank of 3 colors or higher within the Vine tribe, including the various leaders, to Qishao's courtyard, where they brought out the bronze weapons already camouflaged with paint. These new weapons are currently the Vine tribe's biggest secret. Once you receive them, conceal them all and only use them during combat. If anyone leaks this secret, they will be punished severely. Do you all understand? Understood. Good. Now come over and choose the weapon that suits you. On the ground, there were numerous bronze weapons, painted in gray-white hues, including bronze axes, bronze short knives, wooden-handled long spears, arrow feathers, and more. Everyone selected their preferred weapons and wrapped them in beast hides to take back to their residences. On the morning of June 19th, the Vine tribe and Frog tribe had made all necessary preparations and began their expedition. Outside the Vine tribe, over 1,500 warriors had assembled, with each pair riding a mount and carrying weapons, dry rations, and medicines. The nearby wanderers and outsiders were frightened and rushed off to more distant areas. Boom! On Stone Mountain, the mist quickly dissipated, and the divine vine soared up into the sky, radiating countless green rays. The terrifying divine power surged massively, extremely intimidating. Then, a more astonishing scene unfolded. Crack, crack, crack. The tall vine walls rapidly grew, intertwining with each other and sealing the four gates around them. Normally, after the four gates were sealed, the divine vine would set off. But today, new changes appeared. The divine vine sprayed abundant divine liquid along the vine walls like rain falling. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All the vines started crazily growing again, intertwining with each other, growing taller, thicker, and converging toward the tribe's center. Eventually, an enormous vine canopy emerged, covering the entire vine tribe. All the vine tribe members left behind, as well as the captives, looked up in shock at the densely packed vines overhead, unable to utter a word. Chapter 303. Unexpected 2. Luckily, the vines were too thick, so their interweaving was not very tight, leaving many gaps through which light could pass. Otherwise, the vine tribe inside would become dark as night, unable to distinguish between day and night. However, with this enormous vine canopy for protection, the remaining tribe members of the vine tribe would be very safe. No one could climb inside along the vine wall to cause trouble, nor would they need to worry about the captives escaping. The vine god seems to have grown stronger again. Outside the tribe, Jiang Xuan looked at the enormous vine canopy, his mouth agape in shock. Beside him, Qixiao nodded and said, "The vine god is indeed stronger than before." All the warriors outside the vine tribe became increasingly fervent in their worship of the divine vine, while the captives were thoroughly awed, dispelling even the slightest previous schemes at this moment. After the vine canopy was completed, the divine vine rapidly shrank in size, then flew above Jiang Xuan and the others. Jiang Xuan energetically called out, "Set off!" Roar! The crescent-shaped beast raised its head and let out a roar that echoed through the mountains and forests, then led Jiang Xuan forward. 30 rhinoceroses, along with countless rock sheep and great horned deer, carrying the warriors of the vine tribe, followed closely behind. Ear! In the sky, Tang Yuan flew forward, scouting the way for the vine tribe. Buzz, buzz, buzz. More than 60 giant dragonflies formed a flying squadron, leisurely flying over the forest canopy. Quack! Behind, Huameng, accompanied by 80 warriors from the frog tribe and a group of giant frogs, also set out. Due to the limited number of giant frogs, Huameng and his group could only hitch rides on the mounts of the vine tribe warriors, ensuring they wouldn't fall behind. Southern Wilderness Mountain Turtle Tribe. After Shan Jia returned from the vine tribe, he immediately mobilized the warriors of the tribe to prepare for a decisive battle with the fierce bird tribe. However, the day after he returned, an unexpected event occurred. Not long ago, the fierce bird tribe took mushroom forest from the mountain turtle tribe's hands, aiming to obtain the numerous magic mushrooms inside. However, they underestimated the horrors of mushroom forest. Even though the warriors of the fierce bird tribe started from the outskirts to destroy the area, many were killed by various aggressive or poisonous mushrooms. For instance, they had previously spotted a large, round gray mushroom, and from a distance threw stones to smash it. However, after tossing a few stones, the gray mushroom burst open, releasing a black smoke that engulfed more than a dozen warriors of the fierce bird tribe. This black smoke was highly poisonous, and once the smoke cleared, those warriors were already dead. There was another type of mushroom hidden underground, which, when stepped on, would suddenly spray large amounts of spores. Once these spores touched a person's skin, it would immediately become unbearably itchy, and several unlucky warriors of the fierce bird tribe scratched their skin raw. After suffering several major losses, the fierce bird tribe could no longer withstand it. The young which angrily gathered everyone back, temporarily stopping their destructive attempts on mushroom forest. What should we do now? The fierce bird tribe leader looked at the bodies not far away, feeling a sense of fear towards mushroom forest. The witch of the fierce bird tribe, with a face changing unpredictably, after pondering for a moment, furiously said, "Aren't they saying that the mountain turtle tribe can enter? Go destroy the mountain turtle tribe and capture them to lead us inside." The fierce bird tribe leader's eyes lit up, saying, "That's right, capturing them is all we need." The leader of the fierce bird tribe felt regret. If they hadn't been so overconfident in forcibly conquering Mushroom Forest earlier, so many warriors wouldn't have died. Let's retreat first. Directly attacking the mountain turtle tribe, they dare not because the mountain turtle tribe possesses a totem god. But once they could return and invite the totem god of the fierce bird tribe to join them, the mountain turtle tribe would be utterly defenseless. The day after Shan Jia returned from the vine tribe, the army of the fierce bird tribe arrived by noon. Caw-caw. Outside the mountain turtle tribe, a terrifying bird call suddenly sounded, resonating through the mountains and forests. Caw-caw-caw. Charge! Immediately, a large number of warriors from the fierce bird tribe, riding fierce birds, appeared. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! The warriors responsible for guarding the perimeter of the mountain turtle tribe frantically shouted, and soon the entire mountain turtle tribe erupted in chaos. Shan Jia, who was sharpening weapons, heard the shouting and his face changed dramatically, immediately rushing outside. Soon, he saw the wooden fence shaking and quickly collapsing, followed by countless warriors of the fierce bird tribe charging into the mountain turtle tribe. "Prepare for battle," Shan Jia shouted loudly, then grabbed a weapon and climbed onto the back of the nearest giant mountain turtle. All the members of the mountain turtle tribe grabbed their weapons and rushed out, nervously meeting the charging fierce bird tribe. Roar! The totem god of the mountain turtle tribe also moved, its massive body like a small mountain, fiercely crushing those warriors of the fierce bird tribe. The warriors of the fierce bird tribe at the forefront were directly knocked flying by the enormous body of the turtle god, or crushed in immense alongside their fierce birds. The shrieks and cries created a cacophony. However, just at that moment, the totem god of the fierce bird tribe also appeared, quickly running towards the turtle god and madly pecking at it, preventing it from harming more warriors of the fierce bird tribe. Chapter 304, Accident 3. Soon, chaos erupted within the mountain turtle tribe, with battles raging everywhere. Shan Jia stood atop the giant mountain turtle, covered in blood. He hadn't anticipated that just after forming an alliance with the Vine tribe, Sparrow tribe, and Unicorn tribe, the fierce bird tribe would attack first. With the current situation, Shan Jia feared the mountain turtle tribe wouldn't hold out until reinforcements arrived. Roar! The turtle god watched helplessly as tribe member after tribe member fell, letting out an earth-shaking roar of fury. Buzz! Divine power surged wildly within the turtle god, and then its body rapidly grew larger, with a semi-transparent shell emerging on its back. The shell expanded ever larger, extending outward from the turtle god, enveloping nearby tribe members of the mountain turtle tribe under its protection. The fierce bird god pecked with its sharp beak and tore with its claws, but the shell remained unmoved. At that moment, the witch of the mountain turtle tribe received the turtle god's guidance and shouted, "Everyone, retreat to the turtle god's belly." The mountain turtle tribe warriors, including the giant mountain turtles, heard the command and fought while retreating until they were within the protective range of the shell. Warriors from the fierce bird tribe tried to charge in, but the semi-transparent shell blocked them entirely. Once everyone in the mountain turtle tribe was under the protection of a shell, Shan Jia wiped the blood from his face and looked around, almost breaking into tears. In the brief battle time, at least 1/3 of the tribe had perished, and many giant mountain turtles had fallen with heavy casualties. Thump, thump, thump! Outside the shell, the fierce bird god, along with countless warriors of the fierce bird tribe, continued their frenzied attack on the translucent shell. Even for the turtle god, this onslaught wouldn't hold for long. Only the old turtle god, famed for unmatched defense, and able to withstand attacks from great tribe totem gods, could endure it. Witch, what do we do now? Shan Jia ran to the witch, his mind in chaos, hoping the elder witch had a plan. The old witch opened her eyes, clearly instructed by the turtle god. The turtle god says we should retreat to the great swamp. Are we abandoning the tribe again? Shan Jia felt powerless and unwilling. Last time, when the Crow tribe attacked, they had been forced to abandon their home. After painstakingly rebuilding it, they now had to leave again. The witch told Shan Jia, as long as the turtle god lives, the tribe will persist, and one day we will return. Shan Jia looked at the innumerable fierce birds around him and the devastation of the tribe, nodding painfully. Roar! At that moment, the turtle god roared once more and began walking towards the great swamp. The mountain turtle tribe lived near the great swamp, and the turtle god had grown immense, taking only a few steps to enter the great swamp, which even the fierce bird god couldn't stop. Splash! Giant turtles, carrying many tribe members of the mountain turtle tribe, entered the water, swimming swiftly toward the great swamp under the turtle god's protection. They're escaping. On the shore, the witch of the fierce bird tribe was hopping mad, but with the enormous turtle god blocking the way, the warriors of the fierce bird tribe couldn't shoot arrows or throw spears effectively. Ultimately, they could only watch as the giant turtles swam toward the depths of the great swamp, with the turtle god shrinking and disappearing underwater. They got away. They actually got away. The witch of the fierce bird tribe was furious, kicking a nearby mountain turtle corpse, forgetting that the shell was as solid as a rock. After the kick, he yelped in pain and collapsed to the ground. Chapter 305. Tang Yuan's Unexpected Discovery. In the afternoon, the mountain turtle tribe landed far from their original dwelling. They were exhausted and hungry, and everyone's mood was very low. Due to the hasty escape, the tribe's food and various supplies couldn't be taken, leaving them to the fierce bird tribe. Chief, what should we do now? The warriors of the mountain turtle tribe gathered around Shan Jia, hoping he would make a decision. All warriors above one color goes out to hunt. Ordinary warriors stay here to build temporary shelters. Let's get through tonight first. Shan Jia waved his hand, and the warriors of the mountain turtle tribe dragged their weary bodies to hunt, as they had no food left on them. The ordinary warriors who stayed behind picked up the dead trees on the ground to build temporary shelters, because they had no time or strength to cut trees. As time passed, the sun gradually set, and in the glow of the evening light, the ground seemed to be covered with a layer of dark red gauze. Shan Jia and the witch sat in a newly built temporary shelter, looking at the freshly ignited fire, feeling sorrowful. Their dwelling place had been destroyed by the fierce bird tribe, and their food and supplies were gone. What should they do next? The last time they were attacked by the Crow tribe, although they fled, they were not very panicked because the turtle god could still constantly raid, making the Crow tribe unable to settle. But the fierce bird tribe was different. They were a medium-sized tribe, and the fierce bird god was much more powerful than that crow. If the turtle god went to raid and got blocked by the fierce bird god, he might never return. Where should we go tomorrow? Shan Jia was also confused, and he didn't even have the energy to wash the bloodstains off his face. The witch pondered for a long time and said, "Didn't you unite with the Vine tribe, Sparrow tribe, and Unicorn tribe a few days ago? By my calculations, the Vine tribe should also have set off." Shan Jia exclaimed, "But our mountain turtle tribe has turned into this state. Should we still continue to attack the fierce bird tribe with them? Precisely because we become like this, we need to attack the fierce bird tribe together with them all the more." Although the witch looked very old, his eyes were still bright and sharp. In such a critical moment of survival, he was calmer than Shan Jia. Our mountain turtle tribe has nothing left. If we migrate to another place, life will be very difficult. However, if we win this battle, we can not only reclaim what we lost, but we might gain even more. After listening to the witch, Shan Jia also realized, if previously they had options, now, pushed to the brink, they actually have no choice. If they flee, the mountain turtle tribe would inevitably decline, perhaps even perish. Staying to attack the fierce bird tribe seems dangerous, but it holds the opportunity for a fast turnaround. Which I understand now. Shan Jia rubbed his face, commanding himself to pull it together, not to let this setback bring down his spirit. He was the chief of the mountain turtle tribe. If even he was dispirited, the warriors would only feel more despair. I'll go out to see if I can catch a few fish or a few tiger frogs by the water. Shan Jia stood up, took his spear, and stepped outside. He first went to a puddle by the marshlands and washed away the dried blood on his face and hands. The cool water invigorated him, and he cleaned his spear again. Then, under the last light of dusk, he walked to the marshlands hoping to add some food to the dinner. In the forest, over 1,500 warriors of the Vine tribe were riding their mounts, advancing at a steady pace. They had been traveling for a day, and if they walked for another day, they would reach the mushroom forest. According to the previously discussed plan, the Vine tribe, Sparrow tribe, and Unicorn tribe would all converge at the Mountain Turtle tribe, then together attack the Fierce Bird tribe. The Mountain Turtle tribe was about 3 days away from the Fierce Bird tribe. With mounts, the time could be shortened to a little over 1 day. Considering that the Sparrow tribe and Unicorn tribe didn't have mounts, the Vine tribe departed early, allowing for more time. I wonder if the Sparrow tribe and Unicorn tribe have set off. At the front of the team, Jiang Xuan rode Crescent to lead the way, mentally envisioning various methods of joint combat. Multi-tribe joint combat is much more complicated than the Vine tribe fighting alone, because he couldn't be certain what the other tribes would do once the battle commenced. For example, if a tribe suddenly fled while both sides were battling, it would greatly impact the battle situation. If the Fierce Bird tribe weren't so formidable, Jiang Xuan wouldn't want to ally with other tribes at all. Half a day later, Jiang Xuan reached a rather familiar forest, and after traveling for so long, everyone was hungry and tired. Jiang Xuan turned Crescent around and then shouted loudly, "Rest here." The Vine tribe's warriors stopped and dismounted, sitting in pairs and groups under the big trees, resting while eating their brought food. If they noticed any wild vegetables nearby, they would pick them, eating them raw if possible, or keeping them for later to roast when they made a fire at night. While the team rested, Tang Yuan took the opportunity to circle in the air over the nearby forest, hoping to catch some prey for a feast. Because of the large movement of the Vine tribe's army, the animals in the nearby forest were scared away. Tang Yuan flew around several times without seeing a target and had to fly further away. Chapter 306. Tang Yuan's Unexpected Discovery 2. It flew to a distant forest, relying on its formidable strength and excellent vision, found a large python coiled around a tree, and quickly swooped down to capture it, then lifted it into the sky. Tang Yuan was delighted. Its favorite food was snakes. The python's head was pierced by its beak, but the body still writhed in its claws. Tang Yuan didn't mind, carrying the python as it flew back. Because it was so happy, its flight wasn't straight. Holding the python, it swayed left and right, feeling quite pleased with itself. However, midway through its flight, its sharp eagle eyes spotted something unusual on the ground. Tang Yuan slowed its flight and approached the area with the anomaly. Soon, it spotted the enormous turtle god, resembling a small mountain, and the numerous giant turtles and warrior of the mountain turtle tribe beside it. Tang Yuan had visited the mountain turtle tribe many times and naturally recognized these large mountain turtles. On the ground, the people of the mountain turtle tribe also saw Tang Yuan and knew it was Jiang Xuan's steed. Shan Jia excitedly waved towards the sky and shouted, "We're here." However, after waving for a long time, he saw Tang Yuan circle and fly elsewhere. "Chief, why did it fly away?" The nearby tribal warrior of the mountain turtle tribe asked in confusion. Shan Jia was also puzzled and said, "How would I know? Chief Xian doesn't seem to be on its back, so let's keep moving." The reason the people of the mountain turtle tribe appeared here was that they intended to meet up with the Vine tribe halfway. Otherwise, if the Vine tribe went directly to the mountain turtle tribe's former residence, they would certainly encounter the Fierce Bird tribe directly. After Tang Yuan flew away, the mountain turtle tribe continued onward, waiting to meet on the Vine Tribe's path. On the other side, Tang Yuan, still clutching the python, flew back to the forest where Jiang Xuan and the others were resting. It landed in a clearing, first using its sharp beak to peck the python's skin open, then tore the snake meat into strips and swallowed them. After hastily filling its belly, Tang Yuan waddled over to Jiang Xuan, making a few low calls to him. Tang Yuan, did something happen? Jiang Xuan, spending every day with Tang Yuan, knew it well and understood this behavior meant it had something to share. Tang Yuan shook its head, signaling Jiang Xuan to get on its back. Jiang Xuan thought for a moment and said to Qi Shao beside him, which Tang Yuan seems to have discovered something unusual. I'll go with it to check it out. You all rest here while longer. Qi Shao nodded and said, all right, you go. Jiang Xuan picked up the bronze battle spear, climbed onto Tang Yuan's back, and Tang Yuan ran to the clearing and then flapped its wings, soaring into the sky. Soon, Tang Yuan brought Jiang Xuan back to the Mountain Turtle Tribe people. When Jiang Xuan saw the turtle god, he thought he was seeing things. What's going on here? How did the Mountain Turtle Tribe get here? With doubts in mind, Jiang Xuan had Tang Yuan descend to the ground. On the ground, tribal warriors of the Mountain Turtle Tribe looked up at the descending Tang Yuan. Chief, that purple fierce bird is here again. Yeah, it looks like there's someone on its back. Hearing the warriors' discussion nearby, Shan Jia hurriedly looked up. This time, he saw clearly. There indeed was a person on Tang Yuan's back. Ooh, boom! Tang Yuan landed near the people of the Mountain Turtle Tribe. Its wings stirred up a gust of wind. Just as Jiang Xuan got off Tang Yuan's back, he saw Shan Jia and dozens of Mountain Turtle Tribal warriors running over. Chief Xian, it's really you. Seeing Jiang Xuan, Shan Jia felt a rush of emotions, his eyes almost tearing up. Jiang Xuan held the bronze battle spear upside down, puzzled, and asked, Chief Shan Jia, why are you all here? Upon hearing Jiang Xuan's question, Shan Jia's eyes reddened even more, nearly breaking into tears. Chief Xian, we were attacked by the fierce bird tribe. Then, Shan Jia explained the events of the past couple of days to Jiang Xuan. So that's what happened. Jiang Xuan frowned. They hadn't yet attacked the fierce bird tribe, and the mountain turtle tribe had been breached first, which was terrible. So what are your plans? Jiang Xuan asked. Shan Jia gritted his teeth and said, Chief Xian, we plan to follow you to continue attacking the fierce bird tribe and make them pay. Jiang Xuan was somewhat surprised. He thought the mountain turtle tribe, having suffered a heavy blow, would abandon the attack. However, the mountain turtle tribe's decision to continue attacking was a good thing for the Vine tribe. All right, Chief Shan Jia, our tribal warriors from the Vine tribe will soon come this way. By then, we will definitely make the fierce bird tribe pay. Afterward, Jiang Xuan comforted Shan Jia, told them to wait ahead, then rode Tang Yuan back to where the warriors of the Vine tribe were resting. Back in the forest, Jiang Xuan relayed the Mountain Turtle Tribe situation to Qi Shao and the other leaders. Qi Shao worriedly said, with this, the battle will be even harder. Jiang Xuan nodded and said, indeed. So, we can't face them head-on. We must find a way to weaken the fierce bird tribe, at least drop their strength to match ours. Goting asked, Chief, how can we weaken the fierce bird tribe? This requires everyone to think of a way. While there's still time, everyone should ponder over it carefully. After hearing Jiang Xuan's words, everyone began brainstorming, hoping to find a way to weaken the fierce bird tribe. All right, let's set off, join the mountain turtle tribe as quickly as possible, and think on the move. At Jiang Xuan's command, the Vine tribe's army set off again. Half a day later, they successfully rendezvoused with the mountain turtle tribe. When the turtle god saw the vine god, it ran over eagerly, raised its neck, and communicated with the vine god's spirit. No one knew what these two totem gods exchanged, but not long after, the vine god settled on the turtle god's back with his roots spread over the shell's gaps, as if they'd been growing there for a long time. Shan Jia and Jiang Xuan exchanged puzzled looks, not understanding what the two totem gods were doing. However, the warriors of the two tribes became significantly more cordial. not only because they had fought side by side twice, but also because the relationship between the totem gods they worshipped appeared particularly harmonious. Jiang Xuan asked Shan Jia, "Earlier, we agreed to meet the Sparrow tribe and the Unicorn tribe of your mountain turtle tribe. Now that the mountain turtle tribe is occupied, where should we meet?" Shan Jia thought for a moment and said, "To the west of the mountain turtle tribe, there's a desolate mountain with few prey, so the fierce bird tribe rarely goes there. We can meet the Sparrow tribe and the Unicorn tribe there." Jiang Xuan nodded and said, "Then let's go find the Sparrow tribe and the Unicorn tribe again, so they don't head to the wrong place." All right. Jiang Xuan briefly informed Qi Xiao and the others of the situation, directing the allied army of the two tribes to head towards the desolate mountain. Then Jiang Xuan and Shan Jia rode Tang Yuan towards where the Sparrow tribe was situated. When they arrived at the Sparrow tribe, the warriors there had assembled and were about to set off. After Tang Yuan landed, Jiang Xuan told the Sparrow tribe chief, "Chief Yi, the mountain turtle tribe was attacked. The meeting place is now the desolate mountain to the west of the mountain turtle tribe." Yi frowned and asked, "Were there heavy casualties among the mountain turtle tribe warriors?" Shan Jia interjected, "Some tribesmen died, but when the fierce bird tribe attacked, the turtle god protected us as we fled into the great swamp. Now we've regrouped with the warriors of the vine tribe, so our strength remains." Yi breathed a sigh of relief and said, "That's good." He was most concerned that the mountain turtle tribe would lose its fighting capability because of this, since their strength remained. Changing the meeting place was no big deal. "Then let's rendezvous at that desolate mountain." "Good. We still need to notify the Unicorn tribe, so we'll be off." Jiang Xuan and Shan Jia climbed onto Tang Yuan's back again, and Tang Yuan spread its wings and flew towards the Unicorn tribe. Yi watched their figures fade into the distance, turned to the ready Sparrow tribe warriors, and shouted, "Depart." The Sparrow tribe's totem god emerged from the giant nest, leading numerous battle-capable sparrows and all the Sparrow tribe warriors towards the desolate mountain west of the mountain turtle tribe. When Tang Yuan reached the Unicorn tribe, they had already set out. Jiang Xuan and Shan Jia caught up with the Unicorn tribe's team, informing them about the change of meeting location. After understanding the situation, the Unicorn tribe chief had no objections. They hadn't gone far, and meeting at the desolate mountain meant a shorter journey. After notifying the Unicorn tribe, Jiang Xuan and Shan Jia finally relaxed, flying back on Tang Yuan. Chapter 307, Burning the Fierce Bird. 3 days later, the Vine tribe, Mountain Turtle tribe, Sparrow tribe, and Unicorn tribe gathered in the desolate mountain, amassing about 2,600 warriors and 4 totem gods. This is a very formidable force. The 4 leaders came together, and since the Vine tribe was the strongest, Jiang Xuan naturally had the most influence. The Unicorn tribe leader said, "Chief Xuan, everyone is here. Should we directly attack the fierce bird tribe now?" Jiang Xuan replied, "Let's not rush. We have fewer numbers than the fierce bird tribe, and attacking directly puts us at a disadvantage. Additionally, the fierce bird tribe probably has noticed us and will be prepared." The 4 tribes gathered together created a large target, and the fierce bird tribe was not foolish, so they would surely notice them. "So what does Chief Xuan propose?" Jiang Xuan thought for a moment and said, "Lure the fierce bird tribe out, then choose a good location to set an ambush and kill some of them first." Shan Jia asked, "How do we set the ambush?" Jiang Xuan drew his short knife and sketched a simple map on the ground, saying, "We are here. The fierce bird tribe is to our southeast, and there is a valley in between. I rode Tang Yuan there before. It's perfect for an ambush. We first send 200 warriors, spread them out, and head individually to the valley to avoid being tracked by the fierce bird tribe. Once at the valley, these 200 warriors will regroup and gather all the dry firewood they can find inside and outside of the valley. Stack them on both sides, leaving only a path in the middle. Then we pretend to attack the fierce bird tribe, lure them out and into the valley, at least a part of them, and block the entrance and exit, burning them to death. Fire attack. This is one of the strategies Jiang Xuan learned from reading 3 Kingdoms in his past life. Zhuge Liang used this tactic to lure Sima Yi into a valley, almost burning his army alive. Sima Yi survived because it suddenly rained heavily from the sky, and Jiang Xuan didn't believe the fierce bird tribe would have such luck. Shan Jia, Yi, and the unicorn tribe leader were shocked. Their eyes widened, and their scalps tingled after hearing Jiang Xuan's plan. Tribal warfare usually involves a mindless charge forward, at most setting some traps to harm enemies. They had never used such a meticulous strategy as Jiang Xuan's, nor even thought of it. Moreover, methods like fire attacks were not employed by most tribes, because the primitive forest of the southern wilderness was too dense. Once it starts burning, the flames don't distinguish friend from foe. Once the fire spreads on a large scale, all tribes suffer. Shan Jia also thought of this problem and raised a concern. Chief Xian, what if the forest around the valley catches fire too? What should we do? Yi and the unicorn tribe leader nodded in agreement. If this large forest around the great swamp was burned down, they would not be able to survive here. Jiang Xuan laughed and said, Shan Jia, remember when we attacked the crow tribe? I remember why. Back then, that big crow could also spit fire, and very powerfully too, but it couldn't set the forest on fire. Do you know why? Shan Jia recalled carefully. Then his eyes lit up. He said, the turtle god extinguished the fire with water. Exactly. The valley I've chosen is also near the great swamp. With the turtle god around, we can extinguish the fire after burning the fierce bird tribe to death. Right, why didn't I think of that? Shan Jia slapped his thigh. His worries about the fire attack disappeared. Yi and the unicorn tribe leader also breathed a sigh of relief. They no longer needed to worry about this vast forest being burned down. The unicorn tribe leader said, then let's proceed according to Chief Xian's plan. He nodded and said, I agree. Jiang Xuan said, which tribe is sending 200 warriors to the valley to prepare the firewood? Shan Jia said, our mountain turtle tribe is quite familiar with that valley. We can send 200 warriors there. Jiang Xuan looked at Yi and the unicorn tribe leader and said, do you agree? Yi and the unicorn tribe leader nodded. They indeed were not as familiar with that valley as the mountain turtle tribe, and sending their warriors might lead to them not finding the place. All right, then proceed as I said earlier. Let those warriors spread out and then regroup once they arrive. Be very cautious not to be discovered by the fierce bird tribe. Don't worry, Chief Xian, we will ride the mountain turtle and take the water route. The fierce bird tribe won't notice us. Jiang Xuan nodded and said, then let them depart. Shan Jia immediately arranged for 200 mountain turtle tribe warriors, grouped in 3 to 5, riding giant mountain turtles, to disperse toward the valley to gather firewood. All right, let's depart for the fierce bird tribe as well. Since they were there to lure, there's no need to worry about exposure. More than 2,000 warriors for totem gods set off mightily toward the fierce bird tribe. As they needed time to set up on the valley side, Jiang Xuan and others took their time, hunting along the way to replenish food, and moved relatively slowly. Such a large spectacle naturally attracted the attention of the fierce bird tribe, who dispatched a large number of warriors to monitor the movements of the Vine Tribe coalition and prepare to face them. The fierce bird tribe feared the battle would destroy the tribe they had painstakingly built and did not wait for the Vine Tribe coalition to reach their doorstep before gathering all the warriors and preparing to act against the coalition. In a forest outside the fierce bird tribe, the Vine Tribe coalition was slowly advancing, when suddenly Tang Yuan made a sharp screech in the sky. Chapter 308, Burning Fierce Bird 2. Jiang Xuan in the forest immediately shouted loudly, stop advancing, prepare for battle. More than 2,000 warriors stopped in their tracks, tightened their grips on their weapons, and readied themselves for battle. Behind a large tree in front, the leader of the fierce bird tribe looked at the sky and cursed, damn bluebird, we've been discovered. Originally, the fierce bird tribe planned to ambush in the woods, waiting for the Vine Tribe allied forces to enter and then catch them off guard. But they did not anticipate Tang Yuan scouting from above and timely discovering them. Leader, what do we do now? A warrior from the fierce bird tribe asked. What else can we do? Charge. The leader of the fierce bird tribe clamped his legs tight and pointed his long spear forward. The tall and strong fierce bird beneath him immediately began galloping forward. Charge! Kill! Over 4,000 warriors from the fierce bird tribe followed their leader, riding their fierce birds forward, creating a ghastly momentum. Caw-caw! The totem god of the fierce bird tribe also appeared. The fierce birds themselves cannot fly, but the fierce bird god, as a mid-sized tribe's totem god, like the vine god, could rely on divine power to soar into the sky. Moreover, it had a pair of small wings that could harness a bit of wind. Upon appearing, the fierce bird god instantly targeted the divine vine, which posed the greatest threat to it, flying towards the divine vine. At this moment, the divine vine was lying on the back of the turtle god. As the fierce bird god flew over, its vine burst out with a green divine light and quickly grew. The terrifying vine was like a green lightning bolt, fiercely striking towards the fierce bird god. The fierce bird god was used to bullying the weaker minor tribes' totem gods. When the vine god suddenly struck, it sensed the horrific divine power fluctuations and felt that something was amiss. But by this time, it was already too late to avoid. Smack! The thick green vine lashed across the body of the fierce bird god, flinging it while it was flying forward. Crash, crash! The fierce bird god fell diagonally across the forest, breaking a large section of trees. Swish! The sparrow god, seeing an opportunity, flashed over like lightning, and its sharp claws viciously grasped the fierce bird god's back, leaving several deep scars. The turtle god also charged over. As it ran at full speed, it was incredibly fast. Along the way, dozens of warriors from the fierce bird tribe were either knocked flying or crushed. Crash, crash! The fierce bird god, just attacked by the sparrow god, hadn't had time to get up before being heavily rammed by the turtle god again, breaking 7 or 8 giant trees behind it. The rhinoceros beetle god did not come over to sneak attack, as it was already charging towards the fierce bird cavalry to relieve pressure on the allied ground warriors. The repeatedly injured fierce bird god climbed up in a rage, flapping its wings and flying back into the sky. Since arriving in the southern wilderness, it had never suffered such a great loss. It had always been the one violently beating those minor tribes' totem gods. When had it ever been beaten like this? Caw! The fierce bird god flapped its wings, with several feathers falling off its body, and it had many wounds. Buzz! In a rage, the fierce bird god unleashed its terrifying divine power, spreading like a tsunami all around, wave after wave. Whoosh! It dived towards the divine vine once again, but this time it wasn't as careless as before. Smack, smack, smack! The vine god also floated into the air, swelling in size, countless vines glowing with green light, lashing towards the fierce bird god. The fierce bird god continuously dodged the vines, tearing through those it couldn't avoid with its claws, even snapping them directly. In the sky, the fierce bird god and the vine god engaged in a fierce divine battle, with the sparrow god assisting from the side. On the ground, the vine tribe allied forces had also begun fighting fiercely with the fierce bird tribe. Boom rumble! The turtle god, along with the warriors of the mountain turtle tribe, rampaged through the forest, killing many warriors of the fierce bird tribe either by collision, biting, or direct crushing. The rhinoceros beetle god also led their warriors, along with numerous rhinoceros beetles, slaughtering many warriors from the fierce bird tribe. Jiang Xuan led a heavy cavalry composed of over 30 rhinos on the battlefield, rampaging around, and even the ferocious fierce birds could not withstand them. The warriors of the sparrow tribe were relatively weaker, but very proficient at ambushing, often hiding behind trees for surprise attacks. However, the fierce bird tribe was not to be trifled with either. The leader of the fierce bird tribe was a 5-color warrior, extremely powerful, charging left and right on his fierce bird, killing many people. Soon, he set his sights on Jiang Xuan, as the heavy cavalry led by Jiang Xuan was causing too much destruction. Caw! He, along with a group of 3-color warriors from the fierce bird tribe, charged swiftly towards Jiang Xuan on their fierce birds. Though fierce birds aren't as large as the black-winged rhinoceros, They are quicker and more agile than the rhinos. The fierce bird, ridden by the leader of the fierce bird tribe, opened its wings, and with a kick from its legs, jumped over 3 meters high when it got close to Jiang Xuan. Seeing the fierce bird's talons reaching for him, Jiang Xuan was greatly startled, and it was too late to counter. All he could do was a desperate roll off the back of Crescent. The fierce bird did not catch Jiang Xuan, but instead grabbed at Crescent's back. However, the skin of the black-winged rhinoceros was thick and tough, covered with a layer of black long hair, leaving only shallow scratches from the fierce bird's talons. Chapter 309. Burning Fierce Bird 3. Roar! The moon crescent wasn't easy to provoke. It stood upright, forcing the fierce bird to jump aside. Jiang Xuan also got back on his feet. He once again mounted the crescent moon and glared coldly at the fierce bird and the fierce bird tribe leader on its back. To deal with the fierce bird, Tang Yuan would actually be more effective. However, the forest here is quite dense, and Tang Yuan's size makes it difficult to fly freely within, so Jiang Xuan could only continue to ride the crescent moon into battle. Jiang Xuan quickly scanned the battlefield. The situation was dire. The heavy cavalry formed by the black-winged rhinoceroses had already been divided by a group of 3-color warriors riding fierce birds. Relying on their own superior strength and the speed of the fierce birds, they circled around the black-winged rhinoceroses, occasionally finding opportunities to attack. The black-winged rhinoceroses, being less agile in turning, could only passively suffer. Although the turtle god and the rhinoceros beetle god were powerful and killed many at the start, the fierce bird tribe warriors reacted quickly, all running towards the denser parts of the forest, avoiding direct conflict with them. This way, the advantages of the turtle god and rhinoceros beetle god were also diminished. Moreover, the fierce bird tribe had a significant numerical advantage. A portion of them surrounded the turtle god and rhinoceros beetle god, while the others attacked the tribal warriors of the vine tribe coalition without any problem. The leader of the fierce bird tribe was a 5-color warrior, stronger than Jiang Xuan, making it very difficult for Jiang Xuan to kill him. Thinking of this, Jiang Xuan did not hesitate at all and shouted loudly while riding the crescent moon, "Retreat!" The vine tribe warriors near Jiang Xuan, upon hearing his command, immediately began retreating while fighting. The leader of the fierce bird tribe wanted to chase Jiang Xuan, but just at that moment, an arrow whizzed toward his chest. By the time he sensed danger, it was too late to evade, and he could only try his best to dodge by turning sideways. Puff! The arrow hit the left arm of the fierce bird tribe leader, eliciting a scream of pain. He looked in the direction the arrow came from, only seeing a figure with a strange beast horn bow on its back. By this time, the Vine Tribe coalition had fully started to retreat. The turtle god and rhinoceros beetle god charged forward, blocking the pursuing fierce bird tribe warriors, covering their retreat. Not good. The arrowhead is poisoned. Seeing his wound quickly swell and turn dark, with the flowing blood also blackening, the fierce bird tribe leader's face changed drastically. The fierce bird tribe leader yanked the arrow out of his left arm and threw it to the ground, then took a small packet of antidote powder from the beast hide bag at his waist. He poured half on the wound and the rest into his mouth. The tough physique of a 5-color warrior, coupled with the prompt consumption of potent antidote, allowed him to remain mobile despite being poisoned. Then, wielding a Mao with one hand, he roared angrily, "Chase! Don't let them escape!" The fierce bird tribe warriors rushed forward in pursuit, but their speed was greatly hindered by the blocking turtle god and rhinoceros beetle god on either side. In this way, the Vine Tribe coalition ran ahead while the fierce bird tribe warriors chased, occasionally being blocked by the turtle god and rhinoceros beetle god, and even sometimes suddenly attacked from above by Tang Yuan, making their pursuit frustrating. In the sky, the fierce bird god and the vine god were still fiercely battling, both sides fighting with true fervor. Even the sparrow god found itself nervously cautious, seizing opportunities to stealthily attack. When the vine god saw that the vine tribe warriors below were almost fully retreated, it didn't withdraw. Instead, with the sparrow god, it deliberately lured the fierce bird god to another location. This was also part of the plan. Chapter 310, Can't Get Out. In the forest, the Vine Tribe Alliance was fleeing with all their might, pursued relentlessly by the Fierce Bird Tribe. Whenever the warriors of the Fierce Bird Tribe were about to catch up, they were momentarily held back by the combined forces of the Turtle God and Rhinoceros Beetle God. Otherwise, with the speed of the fierce birds, the Vine Tribe Alliance riding together would have been caught long ago. Stop chasing, everyone halt. After a long pursuit, the Fierce Bird Tribe leader ordered all warriors to cease the chase because they had gone too far and couldn't catch up despite their efforts. The Fierce Bird Tribe leader was not dull. Instinctively, he felt that continuing the pursuit might lead to trouble. However, as the Fierce Bird Tribe halted, the Vine Tribe Alliance ahead also stopped. Jiang Xuan had Crescent turn around, then led his people in a charge back. Attack! The Vine Tribe Alliance suddenly turned to attack, forcing the Fierce Bird Tribe warriors to engage. The Fierce Bird Tribe warriors, numerous and strong, quickly overpowered the Vine Tribe Alliance, forcing them to flee once more. Before the Fierce Bird Tribe leader could speak, the witch could no longer hold back. Pursue them, annihilate these damned small tribes. The witch, being young and quick-tempered, galloped forward on a fierce bird, disregarding his role as a witch. With the witch leading the chase, the leader had no choice but to follow reluctantly and protect the witch. Both sides continued the chase in flight for most of the day. By now, both the fierce birds and the mounts like the mountain turtles and black-winged rhinoceroses were exhausted and hungry, their speeds clearly diminishing. If they hadn't rested along the way amicably and consumed some food, they would have been unable to continue running. Jiang Xuan urged Crescent to the front and asked Shanjia, responsible for leading the way, "Chief Shanjia, are we there yet?" Jiang Xuan was anxious because in the course of pursuit, the Fierce Bird Tribe had twice abandoned their chase. If they hadn't turned back to fight each time, provoking the anger of the Fierce Bird Tribe, they would have stopped chasing long ago. It was already afternoon, and if they kept running, it would soon get dark, at which point the Fierce Bird Tribe definitely wouldn't continue the pursuit. Almost there, just ahead, Shanjia was also anxious, having observed the surrounding terrain and realizing they were close to the valley. "Great, everyone, hold on a bit longer." Jiang Xuan quietly encouraged the warriors around him, then continued running with Shanjia. Behind them, the Fierce Bird Tribe leader said to the witch, "Witch, we can't chase them any longer. We're far from our tribe, and the gods haven't followed us." The young witch was unwilling to give up. "We've chased for so long. If we give up now, wouldn't the warriors who died earlier have died in vain? Besides, if we let them go today, what if next time they ally with more tribes to attack our Fierce Bird Tribe? Continue the chase. They're about to falter. Once we catch up, we can kill them all, allowing our Fierce Bird Tribe not only to eliminate these threats, but also to gain larger territory, more food, and resources." The witch's words left the Fierce Bird Tribe leader helpless, forcing him to continue the pursuit, albeit with the resolve that if they hadn't caught up by nightfall, they would definitely have to stop. Thus, the Vine Tribe Alliance continued running ahead while the Fierce Bird Tribe pursued, both sides' mounts exhausted and waiting for the other to give up. After passing through another forest, they finally saw two large mountains ahead, between which lay a massive valley. "We've arrived." Leading at the front, Shanjia's eyes shone as he rode the giant turtle towards the valley entrance. At the valley entrance, Shanjia found a freshly carved mountain turtle tribe totem pattern at the base of a small tree. This was the mountain turtle tribe's mark, indicating that the 200 warriors had already arrived and completed their task. Shanjia didn't go looking for those 200 mountain turtle tribe warriors. He simply rode the giant turtle straight into the valley. The entrance to the valley was narrow, but upon entering, it opened up to a spacious area capable of accommodating thousands of people. Following Shanjia, the Vine Tribe Alliance warriors entered the valley in succession, aware of the critical moment upon them. Riding Crescent, Jiang Xuan entered the valley and saw a large amount of dry wood and straw scattered on the ground. In fact, since the valley hadn't been visited for a long time, The ground had accumulated a thick layer of straw and dead shrub branches. This dry grass and deadwood close to the ground had already rotted. The middle layer was semi-rotten, and the top layer was unrotted, loose, and relatively dry. Combined with a large amount of dry wood brought from the surrounding forest by the 200 mountain turtle tribe warriors, once ignited, it would certainly burn fiercely. Whether it will work depends on whether the fierce bird tribe falls into the trap. Jiang Xuan clenched his fist and looked back towards the entrance of the valley, feeling a bit tense. After all the warriors from a Vine Tribe alliance entered the valley, the fierce bird tribe warriors gathered at the valley entrance. The leader instinctively felt danger in such a place, ordering the warriors to stop. "Why aren't we pursuing?" The fierce bird tribe, which questioned the leader. "Which, I fear there may be a trap inside. We better not go in. We've pursued for the whole day. If they wanted to set traps, there are plenty of places along the way where they could have done it. Why wait until now?" Looking around, the fierce bird tribe, which said, "I actually think this place is ideal for annihilating them in one go." Chapter 311, Can't Get Out Too, which, we really can't continue the chase. The leader was utterly helpless. In the fierce bird tribe, the witch's status was higher than that of the leader. Moreover, this witch was extraordinarily gifted, having taken over the position from the old witch at a young age, and her aura overshadowed the leader. In such a situation, once the witch insisted on something, he, as the leader, could only yield. At this moment, Jiang Xuan in the valley noticed that the fierce bird tribe hadn't directly come in, so he ordered all the warriors to halt their advance. Then, he had a sudden inspiration and commanded the unicorn tribe warriors closest to the valley entrance to turn back and fortify the entrance, even dragging some large logs over to make it look as though they were blocking the entrance. Outside the valley, the fierce bird tribe, which upon seeing this scene, excitedly exclaimed, "They're blocking the valley entrance, which means there's no way out ahead. Ha! They've run into a dead end." The fierce bird tribe leader, upon witnessing this, was momentarily puzzled. If there was indeed a trap inside, why block the valley entrance? Isn't this clearly indicating they don't want us to go in? Could it be, as the witch said, there truly was no trap inside, that these few small tribes had lost their wits and ran into a dead end? The pile of logs at the valley entrance grew higher, and the warriors from the 4 tribes gathered at the entrance, pointing their spears outward in a defensive stance. The fierce bird tribe, which became even more convinced of his theory, and shouted, "Fierce bird tribe warriors, don't let them block the entrance. Break through them. Kill them all." This time, the leader didn't object anymore, as the situation seemed obvious. He had no reason to stop them. "Caw, caw, caw. Kill them." The warriors of the fierce bird tribe, feeling stifled along the way, finally had the chance for a big fight, each charging forward aggressively, as if invigorated. Soon, they stormed into the valley, and the makeshift log walls were unable to stop them, collapsing swiftly upon contact. The Vine Tribe coalition warriors fought while retreating deeper into the valley, appearing as though they couldn't hold their ground. This only fueled the excitement of the fierce bird tribe warriors further, driving them madly forward. It wasn't long before the Vine Tribe coalition reached the other side of the valley and exited smoothly, with the turtle god and rhinoceros beetle god also escaping. Meanwhile, the fierce bird tribe warriors, in an abnormally exuberant state, had all entered the valley. After fighting for some time, the fierce bird tribe leader finally realized something was wrong when he noticed the shrinking numbers of the Vine Tribe coalition ahead. "Oh no, there's another exit in this valley." The leader's shout was like a bucket of cold water poured over the witch, snapping him out of his excitement. The fierce bird tribe, which was not stupid, he immediately understood that the situation seemed off. However, looking around, he found no trap and forced himself to remain calm, shouting, "Don't chase. Let's retreat along the original path." The fierce bird tribe warriors also sensed the situation was turning bad, so they reversed their direction, intending to retreat along the path they came. However, it was easy to enter this valley, but much harder to exit. At the valley entrance, 100 warriors from the mountain turtle tribe appeared out of nowhere, quickly piling a large quantity of dry logs at the narrowest part of the entrance and gathering numerous dry grass, leaves, and other flammable materials. Then, they used torches to ignite the dry grass, first causing a massive plume of black smoke, and then starting a towering blaze. Quick, quick, quick! Throw them inside. These mountain turtle tribe warriors brought out numerous hastily made torches, lit them in the fire, and hurled them into the valley. 1 or 2 torches might extinguish if dropped on the ground, but dozens, hundreds of torches landing on a ground piled with dry grass and logs quickly ignited a ferocious flame. Originally, 200 mountain turtle tribe warriors had arrived at the valley and started huge bonfires using fire drilling methods, turning many logs into charcoal. Subsequently, they stacked a large quantity of logs at both ends of the valley, assembling hundreds of makeshift torches. When the fierce bird tribe pursued them, the fires were already mere charcoal embers with little smoke, making them well concealed. Once the fierce bird tribe entered the valley, these mountain turtle tribe warriors quickly piled the prepared logs at the valley entrance, reignited the charcoal with dry grass to produce open flames, and launched the lit torches, igniting the log piles. This series of actions was executed seamlessly, and when the fierce bird tribe realized they wanted to flee, it was too late. Fire! There's a fire ahead. Inside the valley, the fierce bird tribe warriors tried to retreat the way they came, but found the entrance already ablaze with towering flames, making exit impossible. The sight of the raging fire made the fierce bird tribe leader's mind buzz, and he nearly collapsed to the ground. Duped. At this moment, the fierce bird tribe leader was filled with regret. Had he persisted a bit longer, perhaps they wouldn't have chased in. The fierce bird tribe, which also turned pale, but he quickly thought of another exit. There's another exit on that side of the valley. Hurry, rush out. The fierce bird tribe warriors turned again, heading toward the other exit, prepared for another clash with the Vine tribe coalition. However, before they could reach it, they saw thick smoke rising over there as well. Chapter 3:12. Can't get out 3. It's over. The fierce bird tribe chief saw this scene, his vision going dark, and he directly collapsed to the ground. Chief! The nearby tribal warriors quickly helped him up, but it was impossible to wake him right away. What should we do? The warriors of the fierce bird tribe looked at the increasingly fierce fires on both sides, and each of them was about to burst into tears. How did it come to this? How did it come to this? The fierce bird tribe, which was completely at a loss, realizing that he had led the warriors of the fierce bird tribe into a big pit, unable to climb out. Hoo-hoo-hoo. In the valley, as the twin flames roasted, the air rapidly heated up and even began to whirl. The fire spread quickly, and the warriors of the fierce bird tribe could only desperately squeeze towards the middle, but it wouldn't be long before the entire valley caught fire. Where could they squeeze then? Caw-caw. Threatened by the raging fire, an outer fierce bird was terrified and lost control. It first ran around frantically and then, under the seeming desperation to escape, dashed into the raging fire. However, the fire was simply too fierce. As soon as it rushed in, the feathers on its body quickly singed, followed by its eyes and other weak spots suffering burns. It stumbled for a short distance, finally collapsing dead in screeching agony. Caw-caw-caw. The other fierce birds became restless, squawking with extended necks and running around. But unable to fly, they simply couldn't escape. The dense smoke produced by the flames and the low pressure from the rising hot air made these fierce birds and warriors increasingly uncomfortable. They were plunged into an extreme sense of despair. In desperation, the fierce bird tribe which shouted to the sky, "Fierce bird god, save us! Fierce bird god, save us!" Those fierce bird tribe warriors also seemed to grasp the last straw, shouting out one after another. Between the witch and the totem god, there exists a special connection. When the fierce bird tribe which cried out, "The fierce bird god," entangled all day with the vine god and the sparking god far away, suddenly realized he was tricked. The divine power within the fierce bird god's body surged madly and then suddenly erupted. Caw! It opened its massive mouth letting out a high-pitched cry towards the vine god and sparking god. The rolling sound waves seemed like ocean waves, surging one after another towards the vine god and sparking god. Buzz! A translucent green shield appeared on the vine god's surface, blocking those sonic attacks. The sparking god, however, wasn't as strong and reacted a bit slower, suffering an impact from the fierce bird god's sonic divine power attack, causing its divine soul to tremble, its consciousness briefly blank. Fortunately, a vine swiftly assisted the sparking god, preventing it from crashing headlong from the sky. Meanwhile, the fierce bird god, after launching the sonic attack, immediately flew towards the place where the fierce bird tribe which was calling for help. Whiz, whiz, whiz. The vine god naturally wouldn't allow it to have its wishes fulfilled, sending countless vines to entangle the fierce bird god, trying to keep it detained. The fierce bird god, anxious as could be, though unable to ignore the vine god's attack, continued fighting while flying as quickly as possible towards the valley. Back at the valley, the unconscious fierce bird tribe chief was pinched awake by several warriors. When he saw himself surrounded by a sea of fire, he nearly fainted again. Why did they have to wake him up? The fierce bird tribe chief felt utterly hopeless, even thinking that being awake was a greater torment for him. Chapter 3:13, Bloody Battle. Hoo-hoo-hoo, crackle, crackle. In the valley, the fierce fire burned more and more intensely. The fierce bird tribe warriors who initially could hide in the center gradually found there was nowhere left to hide. The warriors on the outskirts of the fierce bird tribe, along with the fierce birds under them, were the first to be burned, their skin cracked and flesh torn. They rolled around in the sea of fire, letting out heart-wrenching screams. The people inside were also suffering, as the valley was filled with thick smoke and the oxygen was extremely scarce. Cough, cough, cough. The leader of the fierce bird tribe was choked so much that he couldn't open his eyes. Listening to the screams around him, his heart bled. We can't be burned alive here. Charge out with me. Some of us will survive. The leader of the fierce bird tribe lifted his spear with one hand and roared, ready to ride out with his fierce bird. However, there were simply too many warriors from the fierce bird tribe. The ones on the outskirts had already been burned alive, and the thick smoke had made it impossible to open their eyes and had blurred their consciousness, making it unlikely they would heed his command. With the warriors and fierce birds crowded together, the leader couldn't break out and could only let out a helpless roar. At this moment, the dazed fierce bird tribe, which finally spoke up, "Let me do it. I brought everyone in, so I should take everyone out. Cough, cough." The witch coughed violently twice, then slowly straightened his back, closed his eyes, and let the witch power surge through his body. A faint totem pattern of the fierce bird tribe appeared on his forehead. Caw! The witch stretched his neck like a fierce bird, making an incredibly lifelike bird call. In the valley, all the movements of the fierce birds suddenly stopped, as if they were drawn by something from the depths of their souls. Then, the witch closed his eyes and began to chant an ancient incantation. Shook! As the incantation sounded, an invisible force spread out from the witch like ripples in water. Everyone and every fierce bird enveloped in this invisible force, whether alive or dead, had the shadow of the fierce bird tribe's totem pattern appear in their eyes. They no longer desperately squeezed inside, nor made a noise, leaving only uncontrollable coughs. Only the leader, with a strong power, was less affected. He opened his smoke-red eyes to look at the witch, his face full of shock. The fierce bird tribe, which was the youngest and most talented witch in the history of the fierce bird tribe. The tribe's people had high hopes for him. Because of his youth, he acted decisively. After the mutation in the western wilderness, he withstood all opposition and decided to move the entire tribe to the southern wilderness. The fierce bird tribe thus became the first medium-sized tribe to migrate from the western wilderness to the southern wilderness. After arriving in the southern wilderness, he chose a new place to live and personally led his people to conquer several small tribes, making the fierce bird tribe more powerful than before. If it weren't for this encounter with Jiang Xuan, getting trapped in the valley, and using a fire attack, a tactic almost never used by the tribe members, he would not have lost so miserably. Soon, the incantation was finished, and by this time, a third of the fierce bird tribe warriors had already been burned to death. Rise! The fierce bird tribe, which let out a low shout, and a shocking scene unfolded. All the fierce birds and warriors that had been burned to death staggered to their feet, becoming undead creatures. Except for the leader, the still-living fierce birds and warriors were also controlled, completely obeying the witch's commands. Charge! The fierce bird tribe, which gave another order, and the dead fierce birds and warriors began to run first, charging through the sea of flames. Then, the living fierce birds and warriors followed suit, including the witch and the leader, all recklessly charging out. With those undead creatures paving the way, the ground fire was suppressed. Coupled with the fierce birds' speed, at least some of the birds and warriors sheltered in the middle could make it out alive from the sea of fire. High above the valley, Jiang Xuan circled on Tang Yuan. When he saw the fierce bird tribe warriors recklessly charging out, his expression immediately changed. Because the direction they were charging was towards the valley's entrance, not the exit. On the entrance side, only 100 warriors from the mountain turtle tribe were defending it, and they definitely couldn't hold on. Jiang Xuan immediately had Tang Yuan fly down to the ground at the valley exit and shouted to the vine tribe warriors. They're headed that way. Warriors with 2 colors or more, ride the giant dragonflies and follow me. On the ground, over 60 giant dragonflies lowered their wings, and over 100 2-color warriors from the vine tribe started climbing onto their backs. Hoo-hoo-hoo! Once the warriors were seated, the giant dragonflies flapped their wings to fly skyward, following Tang Yuan to the other side of the valley. The giant dragonflies flew extremely fast, as did Tang Yuan, and they reached outside the valley entrance in a very short time. By this time, the undead controlled by the fierce bird tribe, which had already charged to the valley entrance, forcibly breaking through the still unburned logs, scattering them across the ground. While the 100 mountain turtle tribe warriors were caught off guard, Jiang Xuan led over 100 vine tribe warriors, descending from the sky. What are these things? Seeing the scene before him, Jiang Xuan was utterly shocked. It was the first time he witnessed dead animals still able to move. They are controlled by witchcraft. Qi Xiao, riding a giant dragonfly, came to the front and calmly said, "Everyone back off. Let me handle them." Chapter 314, Bloody Battle 2. The warriors of the mountain turtle tribe all looked towards Jiang Xuan, while the warriors of the vine tribe were already retreating. Jiang Xuan nodded at the warriors of the mountain turtle tribe, then retreated with them. Qi Xiao stood at the entrance of the valley, took a deep breath, grabbed a common vine on the ground, and began chanting an ancient witchcraft spell. After finishing the incantation, she shouted, "Grow quickly!" Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the valley entrance, on ground untouched by fire, all the vines grew rapidly, intertwining like green snakes weaving across the ground. A controlled fierce bird corpse rushed out from the sea of flames, but after only a few steps, it was quickly entangled by 2 vines, falling directly to the ground. Subsequently, more zombies rushed over, each bound by the vines. Not only that, once bound by the vines, Qi Xiao's witch power invaded their bodies. Breaking the control, the fierce bird tribe's totem pattern vanished from their eyes, and they lost their ability to act. Inside the valley, the fierce bird tribe, which spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, almost falling off the bird's back. Controlling so many people and birds was already taxing, and once the witchcraft was broken, he suffered severe backlash, his energy becoming utterly depleted. With the loss of witchcraft control, the remaining zombies fell down, and the living birds and warriors regained consciousness. While controlled, they could bravely dash through the inferno, but now, with clear minds, their eyes were stung by smoke, body burned, unable to continue forward. In the blink of an eye, these birds and warriors began to wail again, their formation in disarray. Are we really going to die here entirely? The fierce bird tribe, which cried out to the heavens, falling into deep despair. At this moment, the fierce bird tribe leader shouted, "The exit is right ahead. If you don't want to die, follow me and charge." Speaking, the fierce bird tribe leader took the lead in charging forward. Many surrounding warriors, now unable to think independently, instincts for survival led them to follow the leader. Though the zombies up front were down, they had broken through the burning piles, tamping down flames after mass falling. If the remaining fierce bird tribe warriors continued charging outward, most of them would surely escape the fire. Once people lose the ability to think independently, they become blindly obedient, as do the fierce birds. When the fierce bird tribe leader charged forward, those birds also carried warriors and followed suit, indifferent to pain. Seeing this, a glimmer of hope rekindled in the witch's heart. Although over half were casualties, their numbers were large. Escape meant survival. Reality was approximately as he imagined. The leader riding a bird desperately charged outward, indeed escaping the fire with dozens of warriors, breathing fresh air. However, they hadn't rejoiced when vaguely seeing a group outside the valley raise short spears. Jiang Xuan, having planned it all, naturally considered the potential of them breaking out. Despite having just over 200 warriors, including the mountain turtle tribe, there were over 60 combatant giant dragonflies. Add the narrow valley entrance where people inside can't rush out simultaneously. These 200 warriors and dragonflies suffice to block the fierce bird tribe. Throw the spears. At Jiang Xuan's command, over 200 short spears instantly flew towards the freshly escaped fierce bird tribe warriors. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At close range, the spear's power was immense. Moreover, vine tribe spears installed on spear throwers had even greater force. Whether bird or human, once struck by a short spear, they'd immediately suffer heavy damage, losing mobility. The fierce bird tribe leader disregarded his injured left arm. Gripping a long spear with both hands, he furiously swung to deflect incoming spears. The formidable strength of a five-color warrior was apparent. However, the warriors around him lacked such strength. All were struck by spears, collapsing alongside those birds. More fierce bird tribe warriors charged out, vine tribe and mountain turtle tribe warriors launching more spears. A large number of birds and warriors again fell. This time, the fierce bird tribe leader's thigh was pierced by a spear, and the bird he rode down with a spear, barely alive. I refused to accept this. Turning back, seeing more warriors rushing out, burned mindless birds stomping over him. By now, incapable of standing, only able to watch while tramped, warriors falling, vine and mountain turtle tribe warriors holding long spears, blocking the valley exit. Corpses piled higher, yet warriors still rushed out. Leaders still alive, buried among many bodies. Jiang Xuan wielded a bronze battle spear, fighting fiercely, stained in blood, mostly from foes. Around him, vine tribe warriors also wielding bronze weapons, sharper and tougher than fierce bird tribes. Chapter 3:15, Bloody Battle 3. They were blocking the mouth of the valley, fighting with blood and sweat, their eyes red with ferocity. Even Qi Shao was fighting alongside Jiang Xuan. At times like these, even the witch had to fight desperately. If they didn't annihilate the fierce bird tribe today, the ones to be wiped out later could very well be the vine tribe, the mountain turtle tribe, the sparrow tribe, or the unicorn tribe. War is cruel, without right or wrong. Both sides fight for survival. If this battle continued, the warriors of the fierce bird tribe, including their witch and leaders, would all die here. However, things weren't always smooth sailing. On the battlefield, situations changed rapidly. Just as Jiang Xuan and others were blocking the valley entrance, fighting desperately and incredibly angry, resonant bird's cry suddenly came from the sky. The totem god of the fierce bird tribe had arrived. When the fierce bird god saw the tragic scene in the valley, it was so furious it wished to devour all the people of the four small tribes below, including those four damned totem gods. If it hadn't been for the vine god and sparrow god blocking it, it would have arrived much earlier. But now the most important thing was to rescue the fierce birds and warriors in the valley. Any delay, and they'd all be dead. The fierce bird god flew above the valley. Its divine power surged like an ocean, its body quickly enlarging, and it opened its massive mouth and inhaled fiercely. Whoosh! A terrifying scene unfolded. The flames throughout the entire valley rose into the air under the terrible suction, and were then sucked into the stomach of the fierce bird god. The fierce bird god called out again. Its divine power turned into red liquid, falling on the surviving fierce birds and warriors. It was as if a rain of blood had begun to fall from the sky. After being bathed in the blood rain, the fierce birds and warriors seemed to be infused with new life, their bodies filled with strength once more, and even their wounds were alleviated. The god has come. We are finally saved. The witch of the fierce bird tribe looked up at the massive silhouette in the sky, suddenly breaking down in tears. He had truly been in despair and on the verge of collapse, having even lost the will to live. Now that the fierce bird god had come and shown divine miracles by sucking away the flames, he seemed to have found a protector, and his emotions were suddenly released. The surviving warriors of the fierce bird tribe, numbering over 1,000, began to cheer when they saw the fierce bird god. The fierce bird god had come, giving them hope to survive. The fierce bird god had come, freeing them from fear. At the valley entrance, the warriors of the vine tribe and mountain turtle tribe began to retreat after seeing the fierce bird god. Even those giant dragonflies dared not fly in that direction anymore, because this was a totem god of a medium-sized tribe, something they simply couldn't contend with. Chirp! At that moment, the sparrow god arrived, its speed not inferior to the more powerful fierce bird god due to its avian nature. The vine god also arrived, radiating green divine light, with countless vines dancing in the air. Jiang Xuan and the others felt slightly relieved. With the vine god and sparrow god present, there was no longer a fear that the extremely angry fierce bird god would suddenly strike them down. The fierce bird god turned to look at the vine god and sparrow god, and the turtle god and rhinoceros beetle god running towards them, then glanced at the battlefield below, where only a little over 1,000 fierce bird tribe warriors remained, knowing that today the fierce bird tribe had lost, and lost badly. The fierce bird god let out a low cry, then suddenly dashed toward the valley entrance, its wings fiercely fanning the ground. Whoosh! The corpses were blown apart. Many warriors of the vine tribe and mountain turtle tribe were sent flying, and even Jiang Xuan stumbled back a great distance. The witch of the fierce bird tribe could no longer afford to cry and quickly led the warriors to charge out, prioritizing their escape. The corpses at the valley entrance were blown aside, and the still-alive leader of the fierce bird tribe was revealed. Upon discovery, warriors immediately pulled him onto a fierce bird, fleeing with him. In the sky, the 3 totem gods resumed their battle, while on the ground, the fierce bird tribe warriors frantically began to flee. Chase them! Jiang Xuan was naturally unwilling to let them escape freely and led over 200 warriors in pursuit. Chapter 316. No one can hurt my brother. On the other side of the valley, Shanjia and others saw the fierce bird god unleash its might, absorbing all the flames within the valley, and everyone was stunned. After a while, they saw the fierce bird god fly away, and the warriors of the fierce bird tribe also ran off. Yi, the chief of the sparrow tribe, gulped down his saliva with difficulty. Chief Shanjia, it seems they have run off. What should we do? Chase! Before Shanjia could answer, the remaining warriors of the vine tribe had already rushed into the valley, with the turtle god and the rhinoceros beetle god following closely behind without hesitation. The warriors of the mountain turtle tribe and the unicorn tribe saw this and quickly charged forward to follow. Let's chase as well. The sparrow tribe chief waved his hand, then led the sparrow tribe warriors to follow. Just like that, the warriors of the fierce bird tribe ran ahead, with the allied forces of the vine tribe chasing behind. This scene was somewhat familiar, but the advantages and disadvantages between the two sides had already reversed. Needless to say, the running speed and endurance of the fierce birds were indeed strong. The fierce bird god occasionally replenished their stamina with divine power, allowing them to run extremely fast. One day later, the warriors of the fierce bird tribe ran back to their tribe. Yet the crisis was not over. Previously, the fierce bird tribe had over 6,000 members, with more than 4,000 being warriors. But after Jiang Xuan's scheme burned more than 3,000 of the fierce bird tribe warriors, only over 1,000 warriors were left, with the remaining 2,000 being ordinary tribespeople, a considerable portion being the old, weak, sick, and disabled. Within the fierce bird tribe, the witch shouted loudly, "The time has come for the tribe's survival. All tribespeople, take up arms, prepare for battle." The tribespeople who remained in the tribe saw the people returning looking very miserable, with their numbers sharply decreased by more than half, and immediately guessed something was wrong. After the witch called out, they quickly returned to their homes. Regardless of gender, age, or disability, they picked up weapons and hurriedly gathered together to prepare for battle. Chirp! Tang Yuan flew above the forest in front of the fierce bird tribe, letting out a sharp cry. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Behind Tang Yuan, over 60 giant dragonflies flapped their wings as they arrived, each carrying 2 warriors from the Vine tribe on its back. The number of warriors from the Vine tribe wasn't large, and they didn't dare get too close to the fierce bird god. Otherwise, with the flying speed of the giant dragonflies, there would be nowhere for the fierce birds to escape. Soon, Tang Yuan and the giant dragonflies landed, with Vine tribe warriors guarding outside the fierce bird tribe, waiting for the backline tribal alliance to catch up. Boom, boom, boom. Beside the fierce bird tribe, in the sky, the fierce bird god fought again with the Vine god. Their battle was even more intense than before, with terrifying waves of divine power tearing apart the forest below. The fierce bird god was hesitant to attack recklessly, for fear of the aftermath of the battle destroying the fierce bird tribe's dwelling site, and could only try to lure the Vine god to the side. Boom, boom, boom. Not long after, the ground outside the fierce bird tribe began to tremble slightly, as the Vine tribe's black wind rhinoceros cavalry, rock sheep cavalry, and great horned deer cavalry all arrived. Soon after, the warriors of the mountain turtle tribe, sparrow tribe, and unicorn tribe also arrived. The 4 chiefs gathered together once again. Chief Xian attacked. Shan Jia, full of spirit, felt confident in winning after many twists and turns in this battle. The chiefs of the unicorn tribe and sparrow tribe also demanded an attack, believing that this battle no longer held much suspense. No hurry. The warriors have been charging for 2 days and are exhausted. Let's eat something first. Only when we're full can we have the strength to fight. Jiang Xuan shouted to the Vine tribe warriors. Rest on the spot. The warriors of the Vine tribe dismounted from their rides one after another, sat on the ground, took out food and water, and began to eat. After continuous charging and fighting, they were indeed exhausted and hungry, without much strength left. Seeing this, Shan Jia and others could only order their warriors to rest for a while and eat to replenish their stamina. Over on the fierce bird tribe side, 3,000 tribespeople were already holding weapons, ready to fight to the death. Unexpectedly, the other side didn't attack, but instead sat down to rest and eat. This left them holding their weapons, somewhat at a loss. A hunting team leader asked, what should we do now? The fierce bird tribe, which actually wanted them to rush out and kill all the warriors of those 4 small tribes opposite. But he couldn't do it because the fierce bird tribe was already at a disadvantage, and rushing out recklessly was irrational. Moreover, those warriors who had just escaped back had more or less some injuries, and their combat power was not strong. The fierce bird tribe which gritted his teeth and said, "If they're eating, we might as well eat too. First, let the warriors fill their stomachs and treat their wounds." Yes, the fierce bird tribe warriors dismounted from their fierce birds, took out large quantities of food from the tribe's stored supplies, and devoured it hurriedly. However, the fierce bird tribe, which did not understand that morale is something that increases once, weakens twice, and is exhausted thrice. If they, upon returning to the tribe, had directly fought hard against the Vine tribe alliance, even if they couldn't win, these warriors would squeeze their potential to fight to defend the tribe. But once they sat down, ate a little, began to think it was over. They would repeatedly recall the hellish scene they experienced in the valley, calmly wondering whether they could win this battle, and coming to an extremely pessimistic conclusion. After the body received the signal for rest, they would start to experience various aftermath effects of excessive exertion, feeling uncomfortable everywhere. Chapter 317. No one can hurt my brother. 2. This way, the combat power of the fierce bird tribe warriors will be greatly reduced. On the Vine Tribe Coalition side, they already know there's a great chance to win this battle. After eating and replenishing their energy, morale is soaring, and all the warriors are eager to invade the fierce bird tribe. This is why Jiang Xuan ordered them to rest and eat instead of attacking the fierce bird tribe immediately. After a rest of about 2 hours, Jiang Xuan shouted, "Prepare for battle!" Schwash! The Vine Tribe warriors were the first to stand up, grabbing their weapons and climbing onto the backs of their mounts. Warriors from the other 3 tribes also stood up, grabbing their weapons to prepare for the attack. On the other side, the fierce bird tribe, which, seeing the movement opposite, immediately shouted, "Get up and prepare to fight." The warriors of the fierce bird tribe struggled to stand up, some still on the ground, feeling miserable all over, unable to stand. The fierce bird tribe, which angrily kicked the warrior next to him, who hadn't stood up, roaring, "Didn't you hear me? The enemy is about to attack." The warrior barely managed to support his body, climbed onto the back of a fierce bird, but was exhausted and weak. The fierce bird tribe, which managed to get the warriors onto the backs of the fierce birds amidst kicks and curses, but the morale was extremely low. The fierce bird tribe leader was also among the crowd, with his left arm hit by an arrow and his thigh pierced by a spear, making him unable to move properly. Yet he persisted in climbing onto the back of a fierce bird, fighting with his right hand. Seeing the state of the warriors around him, his heart sank sharply. The critical moment of life and death for the fierce bird tribe was approaching. This time, could the fierce bird tribe survive? To be honest, even the leader himself didn't feel confident. Nevertheless, as the leader, he had to fight for the tribe regardless of how dire the situation. The fierce bird tribe leader gritted his teeth, straightened his back, and shouted loudly, "Warriors of the tribe, charge with me. Revenge for our fallen kin." After saying that, the leader squeezed his legs, and the fierce bird immediately dashed forward. The leader's words and his frontline act inspired some of the fierce bird tribe warriors, who gritted their teeth, following the leader in the charge. But most warriors still had low morale, merely joining the charge reluctantly. Outside the fierce bird tribe, the Vine Tribe Coalition also started charging. Jiang Xuan sat on the crescent's back, pointing his spear forward, shouting, "Destroy the fierce bird tribe. Take back the territory and food that belong to us. Charge! Roar!" The crescent roared, then lowered its head and charged forward, with the Vine Tribe warriors howling as they followed. Warriors from the other 3 tribes weren't willing to lag behind, all wanting to rush into the fierce bird tribe to grab more. Soon, the fierce bird tribe and Vine Tribe Coalition collided, and both sides began the final showdown. After rushing out, Jiang Xuan immediately targeted the fierce bird tribe leader. He had already noticed the low morale of the fierce bird tribe. If he could take down the leader, the remaining warriors would surely collapse. Riding the crescent, he charged directly at the fierce bird tribe leader. The black-winged rhinoceros and the fierce bird finally got close. Jiang Xuan gripped his bronze battle spear with both hands and fiercely stabbed at the fierce bird tribe leader. Clang! The fierce bird tribe leader met the attack with a stone spear. The clash of spears rang with the sound of metal clashing. Because the fierce bird tribe leader could only hold the spear with one hand, and Jiang Xuan was incredibly strong. Even though he was a 5-color warrior, he felt greatly strained. The mounts crossed each other, and Jiang Xuan charged into the fierce bird tribe's ranks, repeatedly thrusting the bronze battle spear, killing several fierce bird tribe warriors. Then he had the crescent turn, charging again at the fierce bird tribe leader. Soon, the two fought again. After several exchanges, the fierce bird tribe leader's wounds on his left arm and thigh ruptured completely, and blood flowed profusely. At this time, Tang Yuan seized the opportunity, suddenly descended from the sky, its sharp claws reaching for the fierce bird tribe leader. The fierce bird tribe leader had nowhere to dodge. In a panic, he could only roll off the fierce bird's back. However, the fierce bird couldn't escape. It was directly pierced by Tang Yuan's sharp claws and lifted into the sky. Good chance. Jiang Xuan rode on Crescent Moon once again, charging at the fierce bird tribe's leader, who could only roll to avoid Crescent Moon's terrifying hooves. However, Jiang Xuan jumped off Crescent Moon's back, and a bronze battle spear fiercely plunged into the fierce bird tribe leader's chest. This time, the fierce bird tribe leader could not dodge. His chest was pierced, and his strength quickly drained away with the blood. I am unwilling. With a glare at Jiang Xuan, the fierce bird tribe leader's body twitched a few times, and his eyes gradually lost their luster. Jiang Xuan said in a deep voice, "Those small tribes wiped out by your fierce bird tribe were unwilling too. But what could they do?" "Oh!" Jiang Xuan lifted the fierce bird tribe leader's corpse with the bronze battle spear, then mounted Crescent Moon and shouted loudly, "Your leader has been killed by me. Drop your weapons and surrender immediately, and you may be spared death." Jiang Xuan shouted while riding Crescent Moon, and his voice continuously echoed through the forest. When those fierce bird tribe warriors heard Jiang Xuan shout and saw their leader's corpse, most of them emotionally collapsed, their will to fight rapidly diminishing. At the rear, the fierce bird tribe, which was greatly shocked upon seeing the leader's corpse. Looking at the battlefield again, the fierce bird tribe warriors were dead, injured, or retreating step by step, barely holding on. It's over. Everything is over. The fierce bird tribe, which was deeply distressed. The fierce bird god couldn't defeat the vine god, and the fierce bird tribe's people were almost all dead. The witch knew that the current situation had become irretrievable for the tribe. The fierce bird tribe, which fell into despair and madness. Staring at Jiang Xuan, who lifted the fierce bird tribe leader, her eyes filled with venomous hatred. "You killed the leader, destroyed our fierce bird tribe. I want you dead." The fierce bird tribe, which locked her gaze on Jiang Xuan. She intended to burn her own blood and soul as a sacrifice to cast the most venomous witchcraft, dragging Jiang Xuan down with the fierce bird tribe. As the witchcraft was chanted, a large volume of blood flowed from the witch's hands, floating in the air ominously before forming a palm-sized fierce bird made of blood. This palm-sized fierce bird absorbed a large amount of soul power, and its blood-red eyes gradually showed Jiang Xuan's image. "Kill him! Kill him!" The fierce bird tribe, which clenched her teeth, face twisted, and as the palm-sized blood bird fully formed, she fiercely looked at Jiang Xuan and growled, "Go!" The palm-sized fierce bird instantly transformed into a streak of bloodlight, flying towards Jiang Xuan. On the battlefield, Jiang Xuan suddenly felt his hair stand on end, instinctively sensing a deadly threat approaching, but he didn't know how to dodge it. "Xuan dodge!" At that moment, a figure shouted sharply and suddenly shoved Jiang Xuan off Crescent Moon's back. Jiang Xuan rolled twice on the ground, looked back, and saw a palm-sized, blood-red fierce bird crashing into Qi Shao's chest. Qi Shao instantly spat out a mouthful of blood, tumbling off Crescent Moon's back. "Sister!" Jiang Xuan hurried to Qi Shao's side, frantically embracing her. He saw Qi Shao's face rapidly turning pale, lips purple, and body continuously convulsing, clearly suffering a fatal injury. "Sister, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me." Jiang Xuan grew suddenly terrified. Since arriving in this world, Qi Shao was his only family. No matter what he did, Qi Shao silently supported him. Although she spoke little, as long as she was there, Jiang Xuan felt more confident in whatever he did. As a witch, Qi Shao could have stayed safely at the back during battles, but to protect Jiang Xuan, she always fought by his side, never straying far. This time was no different. When the fierce bird tribe, which cast the venomous witchcraft, Qi Shao, being a witch herself, sensed the witch power's energy. Upon discovering the witchcraft aimed at Jiang Xuan, she immediately rushed forward with no regard for herself, using her body to block the witchcraft meant for Jiang Xuan. Now, Qi Shao's eyes were closed tightly, her face pale as paper, and her body temperature rose sharply. Her mouth opened and closed faintly, so Jiang Xuan hurriedly leaned in, hearing Qi Shao's weak and intermittent voice. "No one can harm my brother." Holding Qi Shao, Jiang Xuan's tears burst forth uncontrollably. He yelled up at the sky, falling into a state of rage. Chapter 3:18. Have you ever seen the withering and flourishing of plants? In Jiang Xuan's arms, Qi Shao's body temperature grew increasingly high, yet her breath became ever weaker. The strange witchcraft was frantically destroying the life force within her. "Vine God, save her! I beg you to save her." Tears fell in large drops from Jiang Xuan's eyes as he continuously called out to the Vine God, hoping it would save Qi Shao's life. Buzz! In the sky, the divine vine clearly heard Jiang Xuan's call and sensed Qi Shao's life was fading away, extending a bright green vine rapidly towards the ground. "Fierce bird God, stop it!" At that moment, the fierce bird tribe, which, already in a state of madness, shouted frantically from the ground. "God!" The fierce bird God heard the call, and then its divine power erupted once more. It broke through the vine god's blockade, and then dashed towards the vine at extreme speed. Crunch! The fierce bird god rushed past, and the life-saving vine was mercilessly pecked off by its sharp beak. The uncontrolled half of the vine fell weakly to the ground, gradually losing its divine glow. Subsequently, the fierce bird god launched a frenzied assault on the divine vine, giving it no chance to intervene and save again. As a result, Qi Shao lost all hope of survival. In Jiang Xuan's arms, Qi Shao barely opened her eyes, looking at Jiang Xuan with reluctance. She realized she could not hold on any longer. Her lips moved with difficulty, but she could no longer utter any sound. Eventually, Qi Shao closed her eyes, and a crystalline tear fell from the corner, shattering upon impact with the ground. "Sister, wake up, sister!" Jiang Xuan continued to call out in panic, but Qi Shao offered no response. On another side of the battlefield, the fierce bird tribe, which began to laugh maniacally. "The vine tribe which is dead, the vine tribe which is dead." He initially intended to kill Jiang Xuan, but unexpectedly, it was a witch who died, which elated him greatly, for a witch was more critical to a tribe. Which, in battle, Go Tung and the others turned their heads, seeing Jiang Xuan holding Qi Shao in despair and the fierce bird tribe, which laughing maniacally. Their expressions changed drastically. At this moment, Jiang Xuan, having experienced hope given by the vine god's healing and despair when the fierce bird god crushed that hope, finally erupted upon hearing the fierce bird tribe witch's arrogant laughter. He gently laid Qi Shao down, then picked up the bronze battle spear, eyes bloodshot, glaring at the fierce bird tribe, which as if he would tear him apart. Boom! Inside him, an intangible barrier shattered, releasing a terrifying power that coursed through his veins. After enduring extreme despair and anger, the five-color warrior realm he had tirelessly pursued suddenly broke through. He walked step by step towards where the fierce bird tribe, which was, although he said nothing, his expression was terrifying, as if he would devour someone whole. Two warriors charged at him, riding fierce birds, attempting to stop him. Puff, puff. Jiang Xuan did not even glance at them, yet the bronze battle spear flashed up and stabbed out in lightning succession, and when retracted, it was stained with blood. Thud, thud. After Jiang Xuan passed, the two warriors of the fierce bird tribe stared incredulously at the wounds in their hearts, then fell into a pool of blood along with their birds. As Jiang Xuan proceeded step by step, more warriors of the fierce bird tribe rushed over. Go Tung and others, along with 30 black-winged rhinoceroses forming heavy cavalry, followed Jiang Xuan, cutting a bloody swath through the tribe. The crescent moon also charged ahead of Jiang Xuan, bowing its head to fiercely ram into the fierce bird tribe warriors, clearing a path for him. Jiang Xuan continued advancing towards the fierce bird tribe which, initially, the fierce bird tribe which laughed arrogantly, but as Jiang Xuan drew closer, his laughter ceased. The shadow of death loomed over him, filling his heart with terror. The instinct to survive urged him to flee. He scrambled to climb onto the bird's back, but the strange witchcraft had drained too much of his blood and soul power, leaving him exceptionally weak. He tried several times, but failed to mount the bird. Bang! Just then, the crescent moon charged forward, bowing its head for a fierce strike that sent the bird flying, crashing heavily to the ground. Roar! Then, the crescent moon roared, lunging at the fallen bird again. Its massive body reared up, brutally stomping the bird to death with its huge hoof. Jiang Xuan finally arrived in front of the fierce bird tribe which, facing death truly, the fierce bird tribe, which did not show the courage he imagined. He did not beg Jiang Xuan for mercy, knowing it would be futile. He scrambled on all fours, rolling and crawling, trying to escape, yet a cold bronze battle spear precisely pierced his body, pinning him to the ground. Puff! The fierce bird tribe, which coughed up blood, his hands still trying to crawl forward. Jiang Xuan stomped on the witch's back, yanking the bronze battle spear up and stabbing down repeatedly. Sometime later, the battle ended. All the tribes harbored great hatred towards the fierce bird tribe, and in their frenzied slaughter, not a single member of the fierce bird tribe survived. Clang! After stabbing numerous times, Jiang Xuan's sanity finally returned. He tossed the bronze battle spear aside and walked back. He returned to Qi Shao's side, silent, but tears flowed as if a breached dam, unstoppable. Chapter 319. Have you ever seen vegetation wither and flourish? 2. The warriors of the Vine tribe were also feeling very upset. Many people even cried out loud. Qi Shao always treated every tribe member kindly, never putting on airs. If someone was injured or sick, she would go all out to treat them. Now, they could only watch helplessly as Qi Shao lay silently on the ground. In the sky, the fierce bird god had become a spent force. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After the ground battle ended, the rhinoceros beetle god spread its wings and flew into the sky, sending the fierce bird god on its way alongside the sparrow god and vine god. The turtle god on the ground was very frustrated. If it could fly, it would have joined the others. The fierce bird god looked towards the ground. The fierce bird tribe that it had tirelessly protected for countless years was now utterly destroyed. At this point, its divine power was almost exhausted, surrounded by 3 totem gods. Escape was out of the question. Caw! Knowing that escape was impossible, the fierce bird god made one last desperate burst. It fiercely charged at the sparrow god, intending to bring the sparrow god down with it before dying. Clatter, clatter. Just then, countless vines, resembling green divine chains, wrapped around the fierce bird god. As soon as it reached the sparrow god's front, it was already entangled, unable to advance further. Whoosh! The rhinoceros beetle god seized the opportunity to fly directly to the fierce bird god, lowered its head, and thrust its branched horn into the fierce bird god's abdomen. Thud! The rhinoceros beetle god's strength was immense, and its horn was incredibly powerful. This thrust immediately drove a terrifying bloody cavity into the fierce bird god's belly. The fierce bird god let out a shrill cry, clearly severely wounded. Chirp! At that moment, the sparrow god, like a bolt of lightning, flew to the fierce bird god's back, using its sharp beak to mercilessly peck several times at the back of the fierce bird god's neck, blood splattering everywhere. Caw! The fierce bird god struggled agonizingly, but could not break free from the shackles of the divine vine. Its neck was completely pierced through. Buzz! The vine god erupted in radiant divine light, and then vines began to enter the fierce bird god's body through its wounds, rapidly extracting its essence blood and divine soul power. Gradually, the fierce bird god's cries grew weaker and weaker, its head tilted, and it died. Crunch, crunch. The vine god extracted the fierce bird god's essence blood and divine soul, then slowly landed on the ground, the vines retracting, leaving behind the fierce bird god's corpse. The sparrow god, rhinoceros beetle god, and turtle god, 3 small tribe totem gods, eagerly looked to the vine god. Once given permission, they immediately joyfully rushed to the fierce bird god's corpse. Although the essence, blood, and divine soul had been absorbed by the vine god, the fierce bird god's meat was still a great nourishment for the small tribe totem gods. After consuming it, they could enhance their own power. Soon, the fierce bird god was gnawed to nothing but a skeleton, while the vine god gradually shrank, hovering above the vine tribe members. At this moment, Jiang Xuan was despondent, not even lifting his head at the arrival of the vine god. But the warriors of the vine tribe were devoutly bowing down. Xuan! The voice of the vine god echoed in Jiang Xuan's mind, causing Jiang Xuan to finally raise his head, choking with emotion and unable to speak. The vine god radiated gentle green light, saying, "Xuan, do not grieve. Our vine tribes which will not die so easily." Jiang Xuan looked at the vine god, his face full of disbelief, yet hope blossomed in his heart. Perhaps things were not as bad as he had thought. Have you ever seen the withering and flourishing of plants? In spring, they sprout. In summer, they grow. In autumn, they bear fruit. And in winter, their leaves fall, appearing dead. But death is only an illusion. Their roots continue to grow underground, absorbing nutrients, to once again sprout and thrive more vigorously come next spring. After listening to the vine god's words, Jiang Xuan finally escaped from his sorrow, hurriedly asking, "Vine god, are you saying my sister is still alive?" "Indeed, she is our vine tribe's witch. She has received part of my power, naturally possessing tenacious vitality akin to plants. After a period of dormancy, she will awaken once again." "That's wonderful, just wonderful. Thank you, vine god." Jiang Xuan sincerely bowed to the vine god, then wiped his tears and carefully lifted Qi Shao. Others couldn't hear the vine god's words, but they could hear Jiang Xuan's. When they learned Qi Shao was still alive, everyone cheered loudly. Gotong immediately shouted, "Quick, use ropes to make the best stretcher, pad it with 1 layer, no, 3 layers of beast hides, to send the witch back to the tribe." Yes, the warriors of the vine tribe immediately sprang into action, finding the straightest trees, the best ropes, and tying together a stretcher as big as a bed. Then they scavenged 3 large, soft, thick beast hides from the fierce bird tribe, placing them on the stretcher, carried personally by Gotong, Nanxing, and other warriors. Jiang Xuan gently placed Qi Shao on the stretcher, then ordered the cleaning of the battlefield and collection of spoils. The fierce bird tribe was a medium-sized tribe, not particularly wealthy, but with plenty of loot to pillage. The warriors first collected all usable weapons, beast-hide clothing, and other items scattered on the battlefield, then charged into the fierce bird tribe's residence to grab anything they could carry. Food, weapons, tools, beast hides, beast bones, beast teeth, stone tools, bone tools, stone materials. The items to be used were numerous. Even the fierce birds were taken as food, whether dead or alive, all gathered together. After everything was looted, items were sorted and piled up, with the vine tribe taking the lion's share and the rest divided equally among the 3 small tribes. Because the vine tribe had the most warriors, strongest power, and did the most work, the 3 small tribes had no objections, even jubilant, because their harvest was not small. After dividing the spoils, the mountain turtle tribe, sparrow tribe, and unicorn tribe all headed home with their abundant loot. This time, they had completely rid themselves of the fierce bird tribe's threat and made significant gains, benefiting even their totem gods greatly. Before departing, the 4 tribe leaders gathered once more. The unicorn tribe leader laughed heartily. "Chief Xian, next time there's such an opportunity, definitely call on us, unicorn tribe. Our unicorn tribe warriors are very brave." "Absolutely. Next time we'll invite you." Sparrow tribe leader Yi hurriedly added, "And my sparrow tribe as well." Jiang Xuan nodded kindly to Yi and agreed. Shan Jia said, "Chief Xian, our mountain turtle tribe will always be vine tribe's most loyal ally." Jiang Xuan patted Shan Jia's sturdy shoulder, saying, "Of course." Soon, the 3 small tribes began their journeys back home. After all, with so much loot, everyone was eager to return. After the mountain turtle tribe departed, Shan Jia turned back and shouted, Chief Xian, after some time, I'll bring some goods to your vine tribe's trading area to do some trading. Welcome, I'll be waiting. Shan Jia laughed, riding the giant turtle towards the great swamp. The mountain turtle tribe chose a water route, as it was closer and safer for them. After the three small tribes left, the vine tribe also prepared for departure. All mounts, including giant dragonflies, carried plenty of spoils. Most warriors had to walk, but their spirits were high, so even walking felt light. Before departing, the breeding team leader, Jiao, hesitantly approached Jiang Xuan. Chief, there's something I'm not sure how to tell you. Speak frankly. The Jiao gathered courage, saying, I just found dozens of fierce bird eggs, and I want to bring them back, hatch them, and tame them. Hatch fierce bird eggs? Jiang Xuan frowned slightly. He didn't hold a good impression of the fierce birds. The Jiao pressed on. Chief, fierce birds are big and run fast. If we can tame them as mounts, they'll surely be useful. Even if not used as mounts, fierce birds are large, with lots of meat, so when raised, they could be eaten. After listening to the Jiao's words, Jiang Xuan was silent for a moment, then said, Give it a try. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. The Jiao heaved a sigh of relief, then happily went to pack the fierce bird eggs. The journey back was long, so he had to protect the eggs with soft grass to prevent them from breaking along the way. Let's go. With Jiang Xuan's command, the warriors of the vine tribe, laden with spoils, began their journey home. Jiang Xuan himself took the stretcher from Nanxing. Sister, we're going home. Jiang Xuan and Go Tung carried the stretcher back to the tribe, walking slowly to minimize jolts, allowing Qi Xiao to rest comfortably. Chapter 320. Qi Xiao awakens, successfully breaks through. After returning to the vine tribe, Jiang Xuan, following the vine god's instruction, placed Qi Xiao on the altar. Qi Xiao still showed no signs of life, but the good news was that on the way back, her body did not exhibit any changes. Sister, you're too tired. Have a good sleep here. I'll take care of the tribe. Jiang Xuan held Qi Xiao's cold hand, gazing at her for a long time before reluctantly stepping down from the altar. Once he and Go Tung left the altar, many verdant vines emerged from the ground, climbing up the altar and wrapping around Qi Xiao layer by layer, resembling a green cocoon. Jiang Xuan eagerly anticipated Qi Xiao's early return from the cocoon. After leaving the altar, Jiang Xuan headed to the vine tribe's warehouse. Frog tribe leader Huo Meng stood before the towering warehouse of the vine tribe, peering through the door at the heaps of food and other supplies inside, feeling quite envious. This time, destroying the fierce bird tribe, the frog tribe played a minor role since their warriors were too few. Only a few dozen went. Nonetheless, Jiang Xuan decided to share some of the spoils with them. One mustn't be too stingy with subordinate tribes, or they won't wholeheartedly carry out tasks for the vine tribe in the future. Chief Huameng, thank you for waiting. Adjusting his mood, Jiang Xuan greeted Huameng with a smile. No. Chief Xian, is your witch okay? Whether it was witnessing the vine tribe's strength or Jiang Xuan breaking through to become a five-color warrior, Huameng appeared more reserved before Jiang Xuan than before. With the vine god, all is well. That's good. Jiang Xuan continued. Your frog tribe fought bravely this time, so I've decided to allocate a portion of the spoils to your frog tribe. I've had everything prepared. Thank you, Chief Xian. An expression of surprise appeared on Huameng's face. He hadn't expected the vine tribe to share the spoils, because the so-called brave combat was merely following behind and shooting blow darts, joining others in throwing spears. Follow me. Jiang Xuan led Huameng into the warehouse and found Dong Kui, responsible for counting the spoils. Dong Kui, have the frog tribe share the spoils been set aside? Chief, it's set aside. Dong Kui pointed to two piles of spoils nearby. They are all here. Among these piles, one was food, and the other consisted of weapons, tools, and other items seized, amounting to a significant quantity. Jiang Xuan nodded. Chief Huameng, find someone to carry these spoils back. Seeing the two piles of spoils, Meng rejoiced greatly. Thank you, Chief Xian. I'll go find people now. Meng swiftly returned to the Frog tribe, called upon 10 warriors, then went back to the Vine tribe's warehouse, making several trips to carry back all the allocated spoils. Before going to battle, the Frog tribe people were actually unwilling, but once these spoils were carried back, they were instantly elated. Their resistance to being a subordinate tribe and needing to help the Vine tribe fight diminished greatly, with many even beginning to look forward to the next battle. Only benefits can solidify the relations between a sovereign tribe and its subordinate tribes. After eliminating the fierce bird tribe, the Vine tribe became even more renowned around the Great Swamp. The most noticeable change being the increasing number of small tribes coming to trade with the Vine tribe. These small tribes could often obtain the goods they needed from the Vine tribe, and the Vine tribe could earn various resources through trade. This was a win-win situation. With the threat of the fierce bird tribe gone, the Vine tribe returned to peaceful days, and everything was back on track. On July 9th, a towering green light appeared atop the Vine tribe's altar, the aura of life surging. Jiang Xuan rushed from the courtyard to the front of the altar at once, nervously and excitedly staring at the altar above. Many warriors from the Vine tribe gathered around, roughly guessing what the matter was. Buzz! The altar reverberated slightly, and then the vines wrapping around Qi Xiao began to retract one by one. Qi Xiao reappeared, still wearing the beast hide clothing from before, her demeanor serene as if merely asleep. Sister! Jiang Xuan ran onto the altar, his tense hands slightly trembling. In no time, Qi Xiao's right middle finger twitched, her eyelashes fluttered. Soon after, she slowly opened her eyes and saw Jiang Xuan. Xuan! Upon hearing Qi Xiao's voice again, Jiang Xuan's eyes grew moist with excitement. Sister, you finally woke up. You scare me to death. Jiang Xuan held Qi Xiao's hand. This time, her hand was no longer cold but warm. Qi Xiao smiled gently, then struggled a bit, attempting to sit up. Jiang Xuan quickly stepped forward to help Qi Xiao sit up. It's all right now. Qi Xiao gently embraced Jiang Xuan, patting his solid back, treasuring this familial bond even more after experiencing life and death. In a moment, Qi Xiao let go of Jiang Xuan and slowly stood up, looking at the Vine tribe members below the altar. Which? Before the altar, a warrior shouted excitedly. Which? Others cheered one after another. Qi Xiao smiled heartily. This was the tribe she protected. Then, Jiang Xuan escorted Qi Xiao off the altar. Qi Xiao turned to express her gratitude to the Vine god, and then returned to her courtyard amidst the crowd support. This courtyard Jiang Xuan had been cleaning daily, still looking about the same as when she left, with the hearth still burning. Sister, you must be hungry. Let me make you something tasty. Jiang Xuan helped Qi Xiao sit down, then immediately started preparing food. Considering Qi Xiao had been asleep for a long time, he planned to cook some red crystal rice porridge in the pottery cauldron for her to eat, and once she recovered, stew some meat. While Jiang Xuan busied himself, warriors continually delivered various items, such as high-quality game, fresh fish, freshly picked fruits, and fresh vegetables. Jiang Xuan accepted them all. These were tokens from the tribe members. Qi Xiao felt even warmer seeing all these items. When Jiang Xuan finished his work and the red crystal rice porridge in the pottery cauldron began to simmer, they finally had time to talk. Sister, when you were under witchcraft, you really scared me. I thought I'd never see you again. Qi Xiao replied. It was indeed dangerous at the time, but I also benefited from the crisis. Benefited from the crisis? Jiang Xuan looked at Qi Xiao puzzled. Indeed, see for yourself. Qi Xiao got up and walked to the doorway, pointing to a rather short herb in the medicine garden. A peculiar force flowed from her fingertip onto the herb. A miraculous scene unfolded. The herb rapidly grew, eventually blooming and bearing fruit within a short time. Jiang Xuan watched in amazement. Sister, have you broken through? Qi Xiao nodded with a smile, saying, Indeed, I was in the minor witch realm before. After breaking through, I became a middle witch, stronger than before. What's going on? Walking back inside, Qi Xiao began explaining to Jiang Xuan, I am the witch of the vine tribe. My power comes from the vine god, so I possess some of the vine god's abilities. Vines need to experience rooting, germination, branching, and spreading leaves, flowering, and fruiting. Then, with the arrival of winter, the process where branches and leaves wither. I've never gone through these, hence I couldn't break through. Until when attacking the fierce bird tribe, I was hit by powerful witchcraft. Life's vitality within was destroyed like the winter vine. Leaves fall, branches wither. But as long as the roots remain, after enduring the winter, it becomes stronger. Understand? Jiang Xuan roughly understood, interpreting it as, if Qi Xiao didn't undergo a life and death crisis, she might have stayed at the minor witch realm unable to break through. In other words, this life and death crisis was actually a rare opportunity for her. Chapter 321, Wastewater Treatment. After Qi Xiao woke up, everyone in the vine tribe heaved a sigh of relief, and bright smiles reappeared on their faces. Because the weather this year has been quite good, the crops have grown lush, and the various wild beasts and birds have reproduced quickly. Just needing to breed a few more generations, these wild beasts and birds will eventually be slowly domesticated into real poultry and livestock. On the eastern bank of the Feiyu River, most of the workshops have gradually relocated, and even the breeding areas have moved to the eastern bank, as Jiang Xuan wants to preemptively prevent any diseases that might be spread by the domesticated animals. However, with this change, an obvious problem has arisen, and that is sewage. Whether it's smelting bronze, tanning beast-hide clothing, refining salt, or making pottery, all these activities produce a large amount of sewage. When the tribe was small, these workshops were also small and relatively scattered, so the sewage wasn't particularly noticeable. Now, as the vine tribe has grown larger, the workshops have also expanded, producing more and more sewage. Moreover, since the sewage from the workshops is almost discharged arbitrarily, a lot of land has been polluted, and a foul stench can be smelled from afar. Things can't go on like this. If the random discharge continues, one day, the Feiyu River will turn into a stinking ditch, and we'll have to fetch drinking water from somewhere else. Jiang Xuan walked through the primitive industrial area on the eastern bank, looking at the polluted soil and smelling the various pungent odors, feeling very uncomfortable. Song Air, the leader of the guard team at the second settlement, carefully asked beside him, Chief, is it really that serious? The tribe's people had never seen what real industrial pollution looked like, nor were they very concerned about sewage, thinking it wasn't a big deal. Previously, Sangyer also thought the same. Although the stench was bad, it didn't seem to matter much. If the random discharge continues, the situation will be 10 times, 100 times worse than I said. Knowing Sangyer didn't believe him, Jiang Xuan had a guard team warrior catch a few shrimps from the riverbank. The shrimps and crabs beside the Feiyu River were abundant, and the warrior quickly returned with a few large shrimps. Watch closely. Jiang Xuan threw the shrimps into a drainage ditch outside a clothing workshop. The soil in this drainage ditch had turned black, and the sewage was horribly smelly. The large shrimps, which were very sensitive to water quality, desperately crawled out as soon as they got in. Jiang Xuan used a stick to push them back into the water, and they continued to crawl out. See that? This kind of water can't even keep shrimps alive. If you put a fish in that can't crawl, it won't take long before it dies. Think carefully if one day the river is full of this kind of sewage, all the fish, shrimps, crabs, and even the water scorpions that can become giant dragonflies will either die or flee this area. Our crops will also fail to grow tall, or big, or even dry up and die. What will we do then? Jiang Xuan's words finally made Song Air and the others take the issue seriously. Just imagining such a terrifying scenario made their scalps tingle. Chief, what should we do then? Song Air looked at Jiang Xuan, knowing that he must have a solution. What should we do? Of course, we need to treat the sewage. Jiang Xuan pointed to all the workshops, including the breeding area. Every place that produces sewage must have a unified drainage pipe laid, centralized treatment of the sewage before it is discharged into the river. Chief, what is a drainage pipe? A drainage pipe, of course, is a conduit that can drain water. We can fire ceramic drainage pipes and then bury them underground, covering them with soil, so the areas where sewage flows won't be reeking with stench or pollute much land. After hearing Jiang Xuan's words, Sang'er nodded in realization. He had seen the tribe use bamboo to fetch water from afar, so he figured the drainage pipe should be similar in shape to hollow bamboo. Then what happens after the sewage is collected? Then it has to be filtered and purified. Sang'er scratched his head, not quite understanding what filtering and purifying meant, but he didn't ask further, knowing he'd find out eventually. Jiang Xuan first chose a relatively low-lying area to build a sewage treatment plant. Then he went to the pottery workshop and molded a clay prototype of the round pipe. This round pipe had an outer edge on one end and an inner edge on the other. By combining the outer and inner edges, two pipes could be connected together. It was a bit like a ceramic chimney, but much larger and more solid. Nowadays, the pottery workshop was not just two cross-ventilated kilns, but was as tall as two houses, capable of firing many large ceramics at once. After Jiang Xuan made the first round pipe prototype, he explained the pipe's function and method of connection to the artisans. It wasn't complicated, and, with a prototype as a sample, the artisans understood immediately. Rest assured, Chief, we will try our best to fire enough pipes. Jiang Xuan nodded and said, Everyone, please work hard. Sewage treatment is very important for all of us, and future tribesmen will always be grateful to you. After Jiang Xuan's words, the artisans immediately felt a sense of mission and worked with increased enthusiasm. Chapter 322, Wastewater Treatment 2. After leaving the pottery workshop, Jiang Xuan found the newly formed engineering team of the Vine tribe. As the tribe grew larger, building houses, paving roads, and digging ditches required a lot of manpower. Therefore, Jiang Xuan specially formed an engineering team, training a group of tribespeople into professional builders. This way, the efficiency and quality of building houses and roads would greatly improve. The leader of the engineering team was named Hong Tu, an honest-looking middle-aged man. He had dark skin, wasn't very tall, but was very sturdy, hard-working and practical, and didn't fuss over details. Jiang Xuan really liked people like him. Hong Tu, I need your team to build a sewage treatment plant on the East Bank, then dig ditches and lay pipes to direct all the sewage there. Chief, how should we build this sewage treatment plant? It's simple, just build 2 houses and 6 filtration pools. Jiang Xuan thought for a moment and said, You might not understand if I just say it here. How about this? Come with me, and I'll explain slowly. All right. Jiang Xuan took Hong Tu to the East Bank, first explaining the hazards of sewage and then gradually telling him his plan. Look, we dig a ditch outside each workshop and lay pottery pipes. This way, all the sewage can be collected through the pipes. Jiang Xuan used clay to model a few small pipes and demonstrated the laying of pipes to Hong Tu's day. This wasn't complicated. After Jiang Xuan's simple demonstration, Hong Tu quickly understood. Jiang Xuan could always come up with practical innovations, and Hong Tu admired him greatly. Then, Jiang Xuan took Hong Tu to the site chosen for the sewage treatment plant. Here, to the left, you can build 2 houses a bit further away for the tribespeople responsible for this place to live in. On the right, dig 6 large basins along this slope. The bottom of the first basin is lined with large pebbles to filter out larger debris from the sewage. The second basin is lined with smaller pebbles. The third is lined with coarse sand and gravel. The fourth with finer sand and gravel. The fifth basin has a layer of charcoal at the bottom, with fine sand on top. The sixth basin has alternating layers of sand and charcoal, 5 layers in total. This way, the sewage flowing through the 6 basins should become relatively clean and can be discharged into the river. After Jiang Xuan finished speaking, Hong Tu nodded repeatedly, trying to remember everything Jiang Xuan said, even though he couldn't fully understand why. But he trusted Jiang Xuan's wisdom. How about this, when we get back, I'll draw a diagram for you. Your team can work according to it without worrying about remembering everything. Hong Tu breathed a sigh of relief and said, "A diagram would be best." "All right, I'll bring it to you once it's done." Jiang Xuan took Hong Tu by boat back to the western residential area. He then returned to his house, took out a blank bee-skin scroll, and began to draw carefully. He marked the location of each workshop and where the drainage pipes were to be laid clearly on the map. He also drew the construction area for the sewage treatment plant and the positions of the 6 filtration pools, one by one. To help Hong Tu understand, he even illustrated the coarseness of the sand and gravel in each filter pool. For the last 2 pools, he detailed the layers of sand and charcoal clearly. This way, it would be harder for Hong Tu and his team to make mistakes when constructing. After completing the simple and clear diagram, Jiang Xuan personally delivered it to Hong Tu and ensured he fully understood what was depicted on it. The day after receiving the diagram, Hong Tu immediately began work with the engineering team. They built houses according to the diagram, then dug ditches. Once these 2 tasks were done, the pottery pipes were nearly finished being fired. Hong Tu led people to transport the pottery pipes. Then, following Jiang Xuan's instructions, connected and laid them one by one, testing for water flow, and finally covering them with soil. After laying all the pipes, Hong Tu led people to dig 6 very large filtration pools, and, as per Jiang Xuan's directions, lined each pool with different sand and gravel and charcoal. These tasks took the engineering team more than 2 months to complete. Over 2 months later, the Vine Tribe's rudimentary sewage treatment system was finally completed. Release the water. On September 8th, with Jiang Xuan's command, all the sewage began flowing into the pipes and then into the filtration pools. As the sewage passed through each filtration pool, some of the impurities were filtered out. By the time it passed through the 6th pool, filtered by layers of sand and charcoal, the water was clear once more. Great, it worked! When Jiang Xuan, the engineering team, and many tribespeople of the Vine Tribe saw the clean water flowing from the 6th pool into the Feiyu River, everyone was ecstatic. Hong Tu cupped some treated water in his hands, took a sniff, and found its odor much less pungent. He smiled brightly, filled with a sense of achievement. From now on, the sewage from the Vine Tribe's primitive industrial area would be treated before being discharged into the river. Moreover, Jiang Xuan would assign a few tribespeople to be responsible, not only for cleaning and maintaining the filtration pools, but also for encouraging them to experiment with more filtration methods to make the sewage treatment system increasingly effective. Breeding area. Chief, after squatting for so many days, should the fierce bird eggs be hatching soon? Several warriors from a breeding team watched the unicorn birds nest inside the wooden house with expectant looks in their eyes. De Jiao said, "It should be soon, but it's hard to say. We don't know much about fierce birds." After the battle with the fierce bird tribe, De Jiao obtained dozens of fierce bird eggs. With Jiang Xuan's permission, he brought them back to the Vine Tribe, intending to hatch and gradually tame them. Initially, he used brooding hens of 5-colored pheasants, but the fierce bird eggs were too large, and the hens perhaps sensed something wrong and left after a couple of days. De Jiao then targeted the larger unicorn birds and secretly swapped several eggs being incubated by female unicorn birds. He first moved the female unicorn bird incubating the eggs aside. The unicorn birds were very angry and pecked him a few times. Then he replaced the unicorn bird eggs in the nest with fierce bird eggs and put the female unicorn bird back. The female unicorn bird was eager to incubate and, even if it felt something was off, did not leave the nest. The fierce bird eggs were hard to hatch, and these poor female unicorn birds incubated them for over a month. Although the breeding team occasionally brought food to the nest's edge, the unicorn birds were 2 days from incubating and had little appetite, growing thinner by the day. De Jiao came to check on them from time to time. The unicorn birds were almost at their limit. If the fierce bird eggs didn't hatch soon, he would have to abandon the incubation to save these poor unicorn birds. In the agonizing wait, another 2 days passed. Just as De Jiao prepared to reluctantly give up, a fierce bird egg's shell began to tremble slightly, accompanied by faint pecking sounds. The female unicorn bird also noticed the egg's movement. It gently nudged the egg to the front, watching its activity closely. It's about to hatch. De Jiao was elated, nervously rubbing his hands together in excitement. The egg wobbled more vigorously, with the small fierce bird inside pecking at the shell until it broke through with a hole. The small fierce bird continued pecking, enlarging the hole. Eventually, with the female unicorn bird's help, the little fierce bird finally cracked out of its shell. It hatched successfully. It worked. Watching the little fierce bird struggling to stand, De Jiao was both excited and relieved. This proved that different species of birds could hatch each other's eggs if their size wasn't too disparate. At the same time, these hatchlings, having been born in the vine tribe, would be easier to tame than wild chicks. After the first little fierce bird emerged, others hatched one after another. Ultimately, the breeding team acquired 28 little fierce birds, while the rest of the eggs failed to hatch. Chapter 323, Stepladder and Pig Raising. While the construction team was building the sewage treatment plant, the vine tribe's annual autumn harvest also began. This year the climate was quite favorable, and the planting team had accumulated a lot of experience over the years. With the addition of the curved plow, the vine tribe saw a significant increase in both their crop acreage and yield. To store more grain, the vine tribe built 2 large warehouses during the summer. But no one anticipated that the vine tribe would break through the fierce bird tribe and acquire a large quantity of resources. In addition, as the trade area continuously received various resources needing a place for storage, all warehouses were filled right after the autumn harvest. Reluctantly, they could only use a few wooden houses to store non-perishable items like stone and beast bone. Once the sewage treatment plant is completed, the construction team will build more warehouses so that all the grain and resources can be properly stored. Aside from grain harvesting, the autumn yield of the vine tribe included another valuable product, insect wax. In the spring of this year, the vine tribe moved the wax worms from the ruins of the rock sheep tribe to the newly planted wax tree forest, with warriors like my dong from the former rock sheep tribe carefully tending to them. These waxworms grew plump and produced a considerable amount of wax. When harvesting the insect wax, Jiang Xuan intentionally rode on Tang Yuan to watch. As Tang Yuan landed outside the wax tree forest, Jiang Xuan saw all wax trees were covered with a substantial amount of white insect wax. These insect waxes draped the branches like snow, making most of them snowy white and spectacular. My dong, leading the warriors of the former rock sheep tribe, climbed the trees to break off the cylindrical insect waxes and pack them into beast hide bags. Upon arrival, my dong excitedly said, "Leader, this year's insect wax harvest is at least double last year's." Jiang Xuan walked to a wax tree, casually pulled down a branch, snapped off a piece of insect wax, and sniffed at his nose. The insect wax had a unique, refreshing fragrance that could invigorate and awaken the mind. Good wax indeed. Your half a year's effort was not in vain. Jiang Xuan's affirmation brought wide smiles to my dong and the others, boosting their morale. "Let me help too." Jiang Xuan grabbed a beast hide bag and climbed up a tree. My dong hurriedly said, "Leader, this work is too arduous. We can handle it." "It's all right, I don't mind hard work." After climbing the tree, Jiang Xuan began to peel insect wax together with my dong and the others. The wax on thick branches was easier to peel, while the wax on thin branches was small and hard to reach, some requiring the branches to be broken off. This was indeed strenuous work, with the risk of falling from the tree, if not careful. But soon, Jiang Xuan came up with a new method. "Tang Yuan, come here." Jiang Xuan beckoned from the tree, and Tang Yuan quickly came over. It was massive, so once in the wax tree forest, it had to lower its body as much as possible and move step by step. Once Tang Yuan squeezed under the tree, Jiang Xuan immediately jumped onto Tang Yuan's back and instructed, "Stay crouched, don't move." Tang Yuan nodded obediently, while Jiang Xuan stood on its back and began picking the wax from the tree. Using Tang Yuan as a support platform, Jiang Xuan could easily harvest the wax from both high and low branches. My dong and the others admired this greatly, but without a giant mount like Tang Yuan, they could only keep climbing the trees. Around noon, everyone came down from the wax trees, resting while eating the dry rations they brought. Pondering for a moment, Jiang Xuan said to my dong, "Earlier when I was standing on Tang Yuan's back picking insect wax, I thought of a tool." My dong curiously asked, "What tool?" "A trestle ladder." "A trestle ladder?" My dong looked at Jiang Xuan confusedly, hoping for an explanation. The Vine tribe already had ladders, though very primitive ones tied together with rope, such as the construction team, which often built houses, owned several primitive ladders. But a trestle ladder was a tool that had yet to emerge. Jiang Xuan quickly finished his dry ration, then picked up a few sticks from the ground to demonstrate to my dong. "Look, our current ladders have one side and can only lean against trees or walls for climbing. Like the insect wax on treetops, it's difficult to reach with a single-sided ladder. But if we connect the top and middle of two ladders together, wouldn't it be able to support itself?" My dong understood quickly as he watched Jiang Xuan demonstrate what a trestle ladder was. He stared at Jiang Xuan in awe, saying, "Leader, you're so smart. I never thought a ladder could be made like that." Other warriors also looked at Jiang Xuan with admiration. Actually, the concept of a trestle ladder isn't complicated. It simply hadn't occurred to anyone yet. Jiang Xuan smiled. "I just thought of it by chance. If any of you are willing to think over your tasks, you can come up with many convenient tools." Jiang Xuan never underestimated the intelligence of the tribal people of this world. Their IQ wasn't low, just their exposure. Once they truly got used to thinking, they would undoubtedly unleash great creativity. My dong scratched his head embarrassingly, saying, "We're not as smart as the leader's mind." Chapter 324, Step Ladder and Pig Raising Too. "No, you're very smart, remember this. If you can't even look up to yourselves, how can I entrust you with more important tasks in the future?" When my dong and the others heard about more important tasks, their eyes lit up and they nodded like chickens pecking at rice. After finishing their meal and resting well, they first followed Jiang Xuan's suggestion and used tree branches and ropes to make a few simple ladders, then stood on the ladders to gather insect wax. By doing so, the efficiency of collecting insect wax greatly increased. They no longer had to painstakingly climb trees and worry about fragile branches unable to bear their weight. By the end of the day, they harvested a dozen or so beast-hide bags full of insect wax. However, these insect waxes were in a curled state and relatively loose. After boiling them, their volume would reduce significantly. That evening, Jiang Xuan bundled these insect waxes together and placed them on Tang Yuan's back, allowing Tang Yuan to carry them back. My dong and the others rode rock goats down the mountain to return to the tribe. Tomorrow, they would continue to climb the mountain to gather insect wax until all of it was collected. By mid-September, the autumn harvest and insect wax collection were completed, and the wastewater treatment plant was also built. The people of the Vine tribe were in an unprecedented state of satisfaction. Because the tribe's resources were abundant, their powerful enemies were eliminated, and they could comfortably spend the winter. However, Jiang Xuan quickly thought of another problem. That was the tribe's lack of oil and fat. Most of the prey had little oil and fat due to their high activity levels and poor diet. Only before winter could they accumulate some fat. Even the animals and birds currently domesticated by the Vine tribe had little fat, barely better than those in the wild. Yet oil and fat were essential for the tribe people because they had high activity levels and consumed a lot of energy daily. Therefore, the tribe people liked to crack bones and suck marrow when eating prey, as the bone marrow contained a lot of fat. What set the Vine tribe apart from other tribes was their proficiency in fishing and large-scale fish farming in ponds. Many fish had internal fish oils, especially those raised in ponds. For instance, catfish, herbivorous fish, and similar species all had a lot of fish oils. Relying on these fish oils, the Vine tribe people could ingest more fat than other tribes, and were thus more robust, not skinny like people from other tribes. However, the quantity of fish oil still wasn't enough. Vine tribe people couldn't eat fats every day. Previously, everyone struggled to fill their stomachs. Being able to eat enough was considered fortunate. Now, Having initially solved the problem of food and clothing, Jiang Xuan wanted to further enhance the physique of the vine tribe people so they could obtain sufficient fat. Initially, Jiang Xuan thought of finding a plant rich in fat for large-scale cultivation, like rapeseed. However, he quickly abandoned this idea because plant oils were not suitable for the highly active tribe people. After much deliberation, he focused on one path: pig farming. Other wild animals were either difficult to domesticate or lacked fat. Only by raising pigs, particularly fat pigs, could they obtain the ample animal fats the tribe people needed regularly. Previously, the vine tribe never considered pig farming because the area was populated with giant wild boars whose adult weight generally exceeded 1,000 pounds. They were as large as cattle and incredibly destructive. These giant wild boars were highly destructive and gluttonous. Given the vine tribe's previous capabilities, even if they managed to confine them somehow, feeding them adequately was challenging. But now, the vine tribe's power increased significantly, and the presence of the vine wall made it nearly impossible for these giant wild boars to escape. With abundant food resources, Jiang Xuan conceived the idea of pig farming. In autumn, when giant wild boars were weaning their offspring, Jiang Xuan planned to lead a team to capture some of these giant wild boar piglets. He was very decisive. After figuring it out, he immediately found the leaders of the two hunting teams and gave them the task of capturing giant wild boar piglets. Captured giant wild boar piglets? Upon hearing this news, Gotang's face visibly expressed conflict because he had once nearly lost his life under the tusks of a giant wild boar and still had some psychological trauma. Jiang Xuan said irritably, "We're asking you to capture piglets, not adult giant wild boars. What's there to fear? Don't you know how to lure and trap?" After being reprimanded by Jiang Xuan, Gotang felt ashamed and stuck his chest out, saying, "Rest assured, leader. Hunting Team 1 will definitely capture the giant wild boar piglets." Shi Qiu remained as calm as ever. "Hunting Team 2 has no problem." Jiang Xuan nodded and said, "Since there are no problems, let's set out as soon as possible. Be careful. If you encounter a frenzied adult giant wild boar, you can temporarily abandon the mission." Gotang and Shi Qiu nodded, knowing full well that a warrior's life was more important than the prey. Jiang Xuan had repeated this principle to them countless times. Afterward, each returned to their respective teams to discuss how to capture giant wild boar piglets and prepare some supplies in advance. The next day, the vine tribe's two hunting teams simultaneously set out, heading to the wild boar forest north of the tribe to capture piglets. The wild boar forest was where Jiang Xuan first hunted wild boars. It was teeming with wild boars, often moving in groups. Giant wild boars could give birth twice a year, with each litter containing 4 to 12 piglets. They chose to reproduce when food was relatively abundant, like in spring and autumn. Now, in autumn, when these giant wild boars were reproducing prolifically, capturing piglets was relatively easier. Upon entering the wild boar forest, Hunting Team 1 quickly selected a group of giant wild boars, around 30 in total, moving as a formidable herd. This group included 12 sows, each with piglets, and these piglets had been born for some time, running swiftly behind their mothers. These piglets were nearly weaned, perfectly sized for domestication. In the woods, Gotang crouched atop a large pine tree, first observing the giant wild boars ahead, then descending to gather all of Hunting Team 1's squad leaders. The warriors of Hunting Team 1 had exceeded 300 people. Besides Gotang as the leader, 6 more squad leaders were appointed for better management efficiency. Gotang addressed the 6 squad leaders. "Later, you'll flank them and set up numerous traps and snares in front and on the sides. The traps shouldn't be too wide. It's best if the piglets fall in without being able to turn around. Make the snares lower, or the piglets won't step on them. Remember, we're not capturing adult giant wild boars. We're just after the piglets." "Understood." "Understood." The 6 squad leaders nodded in agreement. "Good, split into 3 squads on each side, go." Gotang waved, and the squad leaders took their squads and dashed into the woods on each flank. Gotang, along with a dozen warriors, remained stationed here, occasionally climbing trees to observe the giant wild boar herd's movements. Vine Tribe's hunting squad now possessed bronze shovels, which were excellent excavation tools. Painted with non-fading color, they appeared stone-like upon casual observation. The giant wild boar herd continued eating leisurely. Giant wild boars have an extremely varied diet. They first searched for various wild fruits fallen to the ground. After eating the fruits, they dug into the soil with their long tusks and snouted away the soil to consume underground roots, worms, insects, etc. If the grass was tender, they would also nibble on it. The piglets just followed behind the sows, searching for food in the soil already snout open. After patiently waiting for some time, Gotung heard strange bird calls from around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Upon counting to the sixth bird call, Gotung knew the traps were set. Start driving these giant wild boars. Gotung took out a thick horn, made from bison horn, which had an opening at one end that allowed it to blow. The dozen warriors around him also took out their horns and began blowing in unison. Whoa! The loud horn blasts echoed through the forest, frightening the feeding giant wild boars into a frantic retreat, with the piglets squealing and trying to keep up with their mothers. Chapter 325. The Pig That Transcended Lowly Interests. Quick, quick, quick! Catch the piglets. In the woods, Gotung put down the horn that had scared away the giant adult wild boar, then excitedly ran towards the nearest trap. This trap was actually a rectangular pit, very flat. Once the small wild boar fell in, it couldn't even turn around, and there wasn't much space to move forward or backward. However, don't underestimate this creature, even if it's just a nearly weaned young boar. Whoosh! A wild boar piglet leapt out of the pit, attempting to escape. However, just as it jumped up, a large net descended, directly capturing the piglet that had jumped out of the pit. To catch piglets, the pit merely separates them from the herd. The net is the best means of capture. Once trapped, the piglets struggled and squealed desperately, but the giant wild boar herd had already fled far away. No adult boar was coming back to rescue it. Wild animals usually judge opponents by the strength of their howls. Just now, Hunting Team 1 used over a dozen horns simultaneously. Those giant wild boars must have thought they encountered a group of fierce beasts and didn't even think to look back at the piglets. Gotung grabbed the hind leg of the young boar from the net, lifted it up, examined it thoroughly, and nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. This piglet is sturdy and has a loud call. It will definitely survive when taken back. Adult giant wild boars have deep brown or black hair, whereas the piglet's hair is a mix of tawny and dark brown, with small ears, a short tail, and a stubby snout, making them look quite cute. Gotung put the little boar into a beast-hide bag. The bag stitches were large and not airtight, so there was no worry about the piglet suffocating. Then, he continued forward with the rest of the hunting team warriors to catch more piglets. After catching them, Gotung placed the piglets caught by Hunting Team 1 together and counted them carefully twice. We caught a total of 21, not bad. Let's catch some other prey and take these piglets back together. The capture of the giant boar piglets was very successful, with no unexpected incidents, putting Gotung in a great mood. They spent another half a day hunting before taking the piglets back to the tribe. When they returned to the tribe, the piglets caught by Hunting Team 1 and Hunting Team 2 were put together. Hunting Team 1 caught 21, Hunting Team 2 caught 18, and the Vine Tribe caught a total of 39 wild boar piglets. Jiang Xuan was delighted to see these piglets. If they could be successfully domesticated, the Vine Tribe would surely have a large herd of pigs in the future. By then, the problem of having no oil for cooking could be resolved. Come, let's send all these piglets to the livestock management team. Jiang Xuan personally led people to deliver the 39 piglets to the breeding area, handing them over to the Jiao. These piglets are not completely weaned. Their food has to be fine to make it easier to digest. Don't skimp on the grain. The tribe is not short of food now, so make sure these piglets survive first. Don't worry, Chief, I'll definitely take good care of these piglets. The Jiao earnestly remembered Jiang Xuan's words and assured Jiang Xuan, Piglets aren't hard to raise, and you've accumulated a lot of experience in animal training. I believe you will succeed. Jiang Xuan patted Jiao's shoulder and then turned and left. The Jiao promptly led his men to clean out an empty pen, laid soft hay on the ground, and then put all the piglets inside. After, he chopped up some vegetable leaves and round potato, mixed them together, and placed them into a wooden trough. The wooden trough was made by hollowing out a large piece of wood, and now the livestock team uses these troughs to feed animals. The troughs are solid, and putting food into them keeps everything tidy, reducing waste. At first, the piglets were very timid, huddled together in a corner, not daring to eat. But they were already hungry for most of the day, and among so many piglets, there were always one or two with more courage or simply a tendency to act on impulse. After the Jiao closed the pen door and left, the smell of food continuously wafted into the piglets' noses. The first daring piglet finally couldn't resist. It sniffed around, first observing its surroundings with its big eyes, and then listened carefully to the outside noises. Feeling relatively safe, it gradually moved towards the wooden trough containing food. When it approached the trough, it didn't sense any danger around, so it tentatively tasted a small piece of round potato. Piglets are born with teeth, so biting into the crunchy round potato wasn't a challenge for them. The taste of the round potato was sweet, a great temptation for the piglets. After taking a bite, it couldn't stop and promptly began to eat heartily. The other piglets were also incredibly hungry. Seeing one eating without encountering any danger, a few more piglets couldn't resist. Being social animals, piglets display herd mentality too. Soon, one piglet after another ran over to the trough and began eating. After leaving for a while, the Jiao quietly returned and peeked through the gaps in the wooden wall at the piglets eating inside. This made him sigh with relief.